Monster Synthesis Master. Chapter 31, The Jack Gang's Number 1 and Elite. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Screams filled the hall, but Lin Ke didn't relent because of them. These thugs might be very tough as a group, but they are as blind as bats in the dark. With the Silver Army ants also restraining their actions, how can they possibly put up an effective defense as a group? The thugs moaned and groaned in pain and agony. The army ant bites on their bodies brought them severe pain, while the flying ants in the air grouped together and went straight for the thugs' heads. Think about it, when one's entire head was covered in Silver Army ants numbering up to 1,000 of them, would even a piece of intact skin still remain on their face? The thugs had already gone mad by this point. They fished out their guns and began to fire haphazardly. With a leap through the air, Lin Ke quickly hid behind a stone table. As he watched the EXP which he was about to gain go up in smoke, anxiety filled his heart, and his eyes turned red. The thugs have gone mad from the army ants' torture. They are actually thinking of firing their guns to drive the army ants away. I don't mind teammates dealing additional blows, but oh, my EXP. Lin Ke's heart ached terribly. Many of the thugs had already been crippled by Lin Ke, but they were being dealt finishing blows by his own crazed teammates in the end. I've invested many bullets, yet I didn't get the EXP. What a huge loss. What made it even worse was that Lin Ke didn't even dare to charge out, considering the current situation. Stray bullets didn't watch where they went, getting hit by even a single bullet was no joke. At this point, Lin Ke could only place his hopes on the army ants. He wanted them to make full use of the time to deal finishing blows, striving to seize a bit more EXP from his enemies. The Silver Army ants have killed a level 5 ruffian. You've gained 250 EXP x2. The Silver Army ants have killed a level 5 ruffian. You've gained 250 EXP x3. The Silver Army ants have killed a level 6 ruffian. You've gained 300 EXP. The lower right corner of Lin Ke's system interface was currently being spammed by battle indicators and enemy kill message prompts. Through the dramatic gain in EXP, Lin Ke rediscovered the pleasure of farming monsters. The gunshots in the hall gradually came to a stop. A large number of thugs had been brought close to the brink of death because the army ants had gnawed on them. Weak, dispirited moans of pain were the only things resounding in the dim, lightless hall. No sooner after one subsided, another moan resounded. The thugs sounded just like fiends going through torture and punishment in hell all day long. Lin Ke rose up from behind the stone table, and whizzing gunshots full of rhythmic tempo delivered headshots to the thugs that were still alive one by one. Lin Ke dealt the finishing blows and killed them. Squeak, squeak. Just as Lin Ke was killing the thugs, Treasure Hunter Rat suddenly let out intense warning squeaks. Lin Ke immediately retreated, but the resulting wind from the fist rushing to his face was extremely wild and intense. The wind made Lin Ke's cheek hurt as it blew across. Lin Ke didn't keep the Glock 17 pistol in his hand idle. He fired the pistol fiercely, producing whizzes as he retreated. A series of messages enough to make one despair then appeared in Lin Ke's interface. You've used the Glock 17 pistol and struck an unknown enemy, causing 8 damage points, 12 points mitigated by bulletproof vest, 8 points mitigated by resistance. You've used the Glock 17 pistol and struck an unknown enemy, causing 9 damage points, 11 points mitigated by bulletproof vest, 8 points mitigated by resistance. The Glock 17 pistol capable of dealing 25 odd damage points to the Jack Gang thugs could only deal single-digit damage when the bullets struck the enemy in the shadows. Lin Ke was pretty much having a mental breakdown. Not only was the wind generated by the enemy's fist strong and powerful, but Lin Ke's speed of retreat also wasn't as fast as the other parties. Just as the iron fist emerged from the darkness and entered his sight, Lin Ke was suddenly hit by a wave of inspiration. Whistle. Upon hearing Lin Ke's whistle, all the flying Silver Army ants grouped together and dove straight toward the enemy's back. Bam! Before the other party's fist could connect with Lin Ke, a surging, torrential energy wave suddenly broke out and threw Lin Ke outward, causing him to crash right against the metal mesh at the side. You've been hit by the energy wave from an unknown enemy's power punch, losing 10 health points. With a muffled grunt, Lin Ke fell to the floor. Despite having 15 endurance points, Lin Ke still felt aching pain all over his body. Though Lin Ke was able to endure the aches in his body, the mysterious person which suddenly showed up in front of Lin Ke was creating great, surging waves at the bottom of Lin Ke's heart. Doubts sharply and abruptly rose within Lin Ke. Since when did the Jack Gang gain a tough character like this? When I raided the Jack Gang in my previous life, I had easily shot them all, and that was about it. I didn't encounter a strong guy like this at all. Forced to turn around, the mysterious man's fist then went flying out with a boom. The flying silver army ants which had grouped together sensed the air currents gathering around the mysterious man's fist. It was as though the unknown man's fist was now the eye of a tornado on the ocean surface, extremely dangerous. The flying silver army ants dispersed at once. However, the energy waves still ended up hitting over 10 flying ants nonetheless. A small handful of flying ants fell to the floor, their front and hind legs weak and dispirited. Their wings also drooped at their sides spiritlessly. Even standing was now a problem for them. Fortunately, the flying silver army ants now had metallic bodies. Hence, the hit had only knocked them out of the fight for a while. After a short rest, they would recover and be able to throw themselves into battle once more. Lin Ke's countenance was grave. I've run into a tough one this time. This man's punches carry intense power, and he even has the power punch skill. He is clearly a martial arts type fighter. In his past life, Lin Ke's main class had been fighter. Therefore, he couldn't be any more familiar with a fighter's moves. So it's you. Jack slowly walked out from the night's shadows. Half his body was bathed in moonlight while the other half remained hidden in the shadows. Previously, in order to investigate his subordinates' deaths, he had specially requested the subway entrance's video footage from the underground black market. Based on the target and his subordinates' time of death, his focus had stayed on Forbes the whole time. Although Lin Ke had passed by wearing conspicuous flax clothing in the video footage, there was a high volume of footfall in the underground black market every day. Hence, Jack and his subordinates hadn't given Lin Ke that much thought at all. However, all his doubts were dispelled when he saw Lin Ke. Now the two of them, Forbes and Lin Ke, were partners in crime. I told you that we would meet very soon. Lin Ke slowly lowered his pistol-holding arm. He didn't reload right away. He knew very well that the other party would charge toward him without any hesitation the moment he made any movement with his arm. Lin Ke knew nothing about the enemy at this point, so stalling for time was currently his best bet. Lin Ke took advantage of the opportunity to speak, using scout on the other party as he did so. In view of the difference between the targets and your levels, the following information has been obtained. Name, Jack. Race, Human. Level, LV10+, Elite. Class, Martial Arts Type Fighter. Status, Leader of the Jack Gang. Health Points, 910/1,000. Energy Points, 180/200. Stats, Power, 12. Others, unknown. Talent, unknown. Skills, Power Punch. Others, unknown. Equipment, spiked boxing gloves, green, bulletproof vest, white. Appraisal, engaging in close quarters combat with a mature fighter is the most foolish decision one can make. Jack? Leader of the Jack Gang? Although the name fits the situation very well, from what I remember, the name of the Jack Gang's leader had been Mr. Kong when I annihilated the Jack Gang in my previous life. Where is Mr. Kong? Where did that big lump, Mr. Kong, go? Alright, they have changed their leader, so be it. However, what currently posed a bigger problem was that not only was this Jack standing in front of him a high-level character, but he was an elite and a fighter as well. If one must describe this situation with a phrase, then it would undoubtedly be one disaster after another. 1. In Destiny, the strength of monsters and NPCs was dependent on their character levels and their suffixes. Those that only had character levels denoted were considered normal living things. However, once a suffix was added behind their levels, there would be a dramatic change in their stats and strength. There were 3 types of character level suffixes: Elite, Leader, and Legendary. 1. Take Jack, the man currently standing in front of him, for example. If he'd been a normal level 10 enemy, his HP would have ranged between 150 to 250, this was subject to minor changes depending on monster type. However, once the enemy turned into a level 10 plus, elite, not only would their stats skyrocket, but they would also possess unique abilities and equipment. Lin Ke was terribly troubled. Although he held 6 years of game experience after he was reborn, the game's official storyline hadn't started yet. As a result, some of the game's plot had yet to develop to what it was like in the public beta. After coming here all fired up to mow down the Jack gang, it seemed like Lin Ke had slipped up this time. Lin Ke was only level 6 at the moment. Trying to go against a level 10 martial arts type elite was just as difficult as challenging a boss a few levels higher by himself. Jack spread his senses into the surroundings. After glancing about, he asked, "Where's your partner?" "Against someone like you, my partner's help isn't necessary." Jack looked at Lin Ke with great interest. A brief moment later, he said, "You have very unusual abilities, and you're also pretty strong. You also have pretty impressive courage and insight. If you're willing to join the Jack gang, I can spare your life. I can even let you take the 4th most important spot in the gang and lead these thugs." "The 4th most important spot? There are 2 others stronger than me." As Lin Ke followed up on Jack's conversation topic, his mind went into overdrive while he tried to come up with a strategy. Not only was Jack a level 10 elite, but he was also a fighter with endurance as his forte. If Lin Ke fought him head-on, he wouldn't stand a chance at all. However, Lin Ke had still managed to glean some of Jack's stat information that was missing from his scouting through the exchange of blows just now. After all, Lin Ke was a seasoned fighter in his past life. To put it crudely, Lin Ke could even accurately determine how strong a fighter's fart would be when they got into the horse stance. 1. Power punch was the first skill fighters learned, it was also the skill most commonly used by low-level fighters. The discharge of damage-dealing energy waves only happened at level 3 power punch and above. Combined with how there was an obvious 2-second energy charging period when Jack punched earlier, as well as the damage Lin Ke had taken when the punch grazed him, Lin Ke was able to determine that the opponent's power punch was only at level 3. Since Jack's skill was power punch LV3, then he likely also had another move acupoint SEAL1. However, the skill was probably just at level 1. Therefore, the most crucial point Lin Ke had to take note of in the upcoming battle was that he mustn't allow the other party to get within close range of him. Once he allowed Jack to get near him and gave Jack the opportunity to use a cup ointment seal, not only would Lin Ke's speed be reduced by 30%, but he would also be immobilized for 1 second. When that happened, Lin Ke would completely end up as Jack's human punching bag. Lin Ke had no doubts about that. After all, the green quality spiked boxing gloves around Jack's hands said it all. He really would be beaten into a pulp. Therefore, Lin Ke was left with only one battle strategy: long-range attacks. Even so, there was another problem: the bulletproof vest. All good and proper fighters go into battle bare-chested, but that piece of sh*t is actually wearing a bulletproof vest. He can't get any more cowardly than this. The bulletproof vest blocked Jack's upper torso, which had the largest surface area on one's body, causing Lin Ke's gunshots to deal only single-digit damage upon striking Jack. One needn't bother suggesting things like aiming for the head or the lower body. When up against a level 10 elite, one should already consider themselves lucky that they could even hit them in the first place. Striking Jack wherever he wanted? Dream on! Due to the fact that Lin Ke had installed silencers to his guns, Lin Ke hadn't chosen the 9mm armor-piercing explosive rounds with higher lethality when he had purchased ammo. The ordinary 9mm caliber bullets were practically nothing more than tickles to Jack. Judging by Jack's current HP, Lin Ke would need to hit him with 90 bullets before he could kill him. However, Lin Ke currently only had an absolute maximum of 100 bullets on him, even after taking everything into account. Battles aren't Old Second and Old Third's forte, but they have their own strengths when it comes to managing operations and socializing. I promise that your status won't be beneath theirs as long as you join the Jack gang. Who is Mr. Kong, then? Oh? You've heard of Old Third? Lin Ke continued to engage in trifling conversation with Jack to stall for time while sounding Jack out for information at the same time. So the Jack gang leader in the official version is the current Old Third. Lin Ke stared at Jack's bulletproof vest closely as he continued to think of a solution to break the deadlock. Bulletproof vests held a certain degree of durability. White quality bulletproof vests had a durability of 500 points, they were capable of withstanding 500 damage points in total. Once the durability was depleted, the vests would become useless. In which case, only the mitigation effect from Jack's level 10 elite resistance would remain when bullets struck him. In other words, Lin Ke would be able to deal about 20 damage points with every shot that connected. Don't dream of stalling for time. Jack secured the spiked boxing gloves around his hands and started to pace around Lin Ke. I don't see any intention of surrendering and pledging allegiance to us in your eyes. You've also been staring at me ever since we started speaking. You must have been trying to think of a countermeasure, right? Well, let me tell you that all of it is futile. Frankly speaking, I truly admire you very much. After all, you have truly shown a level of maturity uncharacteristic of your age since you are able to keep your composure and think of a way to break the deadlock in the face of a strong enemy. However, it can't be helped. You've killed so many of my subordinates and even wrecked the Jack gang's business. Since you don't have any intention of pledging allegiance to us, then I can only reluctantly kill you. A swift shadow cut across, and Jack started attacking Lin Ke. 1. Chapter 32, A Sure Kill. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Jack's movements were very fast. However, after his drawn-out sentence, a foreboding feeling had already welled up in Lin Ke. Thus, he immediately retreated while taking the opportunity to reload along the way in the meantime. Impressive, you're very quick to react. I'm becoming more and more reluctant to kill you now. A hint of delight flashed across Jack's eyes, and his words gave off a feeling of appreciating talent. Lin Ke was very quick to react and could read the enemy's movements before they acted. Together with his special ability to control small living organisms, with some guidance, he'd definitely be able to make a name for himself in Sand City in the future. It was just a pity that he was going to be a dead man very soon. Lin Ke swore mentally. As expected, every man named Jack was scum. Despite verbally claiming to be reluctant to kill him, every move of Jack's was becoming more and more vicious. Another power punch blasted toward Lin Ke from afar. Lin Ke could even feel the air around Jack's fist form a whirling vortex that vaguely carried a wave of suction force. Whistle. With a whistle from Lin Ke, the flying ants flew toward them again. Lin Ke had smartened up this time. Instead of ordering the flying silver army ants to group together, he had them spread out into a large net to attack from the back. Lin Ke's speed didn't match up to the other parties. Hence, the only way he could put some distance between them was to coordinate with the flying ants and attack as a team. Whiz, whiz, whiz. He fired his pistol successively, all the shots connecting with Jack. However, Link wasn't able to aim accurately because he was in the middle of retreating, causing all the bullets to land on Jack's bulletproof vest. 1. However, that wasn't what surprised Lin Ke the most. Jack had not avoided the bullets nor bothered himself with the flying ants behind him. Instead, he was hell-bent on charging toward Lin Ke, intending to restrain the enemy with a single punch. The ammo in Lin Kei's pistol ran out, and he swiftly brandished an old-fashioned revolver from his gun sling with his other hand. Bang, bang, bang. The revolver had a total of 6 bullets. Just like before, Lin Kei still couldn't raise the gun in time to take good aim. Hence, all the bullets ended up hitting the bulletproof vest. In an attempt to interrupt the other party's attack, Lin Kei hurled the revolver at Jack with all his might. But even so, Jack still didn't make any other movements, allowing the revolver to smash against him. Jack merely continued charging forward with his power punch, responding to all changes with one constant. In a split second, Jack had reached him. Lin Kei was ultimately still a notch too slow to escape. Just as the spiked boxing gloves, which carried sharp tips and were enveloped in great, forceful energy waves, were about to smash into Lin Kei, he turned around in the nick of time. Planting both feet against the ground, he then leaped off the floor. Lin Kei's whole body hurtled through the air thanks to the strong inertial force that came from running. At the same time, Lin Kei fished out another weapon from underneath his flax clothing, the Bezos T1 tactical machine pistol. Without a second word, Lin Kei aimed the tactical machine pistol right at the other party's forehead. All the lights inside the hall had gone out, but with the help of the moonlight, Jack managed to glimpse the tactical machine pistol's pitch-black muzzle nonetheless. Ha! As Jack let out a thunderous roar, his aura suddenly erupted explosively, and his speed increased by a few notches. At the same time, Lin Kei also pulled the trigger. The bullets began to spray forth from the tactical machine pistol. Bam! With a dull thud, power punches single-minded, unchanging force landed fully on the solace of Lin Kei's shoes. Lin Kei was subsequently thrown out like a kite with broken strings, and he fell onto the floor. You've been hit by Jack's power punch LV3 and lost 53 health points. Your legs have suffered an attack, resulting in a 20% reduction in speed of movement. Effect will last 10 seconds. You've fallen from a high altitude. Your endurance has resisted the resulting damage. The punch had directly cut down Lin Kei's HP by 1/3. Had the hit landed on his abdomen or his chest, the power punch definitely would have caused even more irregular status effects. Jack stood where he was, his entire left arm covered in blood and hanging at the side. Through the moonlight, one could see that the flesh on his arm had split open, and there were at least 3 to 4 holes from bullet hits. Blood flowed from his wounds and trickled down the intertwining muscles on his arm to his fingertips before dripping on the floor and producing pattering sounds. Shooting the tactical machine pistol's entire ammo clip just now had taken away at least 100-odd HP from Jack. Lin Kei laid on the floor, the corners of his lips curling up into a smile. Receiving a speed reduction status effect in exchange for ruining one of the other party's arms, IV earned a huge profit in this transaction. Moreover, the battle hadn't ended yet. The flying ant troops at the back spread out into a large silver net and flew toward Jack from the back, covering every inch of space as they did so. Rustle! The flying ants successfully flung themselves onto Jack, almost completely covering his back. They then started to devour the clothes on his back at a visible rate. Some of the flying ants that had clung onto his skin also began to tear at his skin. Destroy! Jack let out a great shout as he tried to endure the intense pain all over his body. Right after his shout resounded, a powerful wave of energy surged out of his body and visibly knocked off all the flying ants on him. Lin Kei climbed to his feet and got off the floor. As he reloaded, he also took the opportunity to remark, "What impressive judgment! To think you could actually endure the pain and wait for all the flying ants to fly onto you before using protective aura to knock them all out in one go. Such boldness of spirit, and such clever means." The flying ants fell and scattered all over the floor, every one of them in a weak, sluggish state as though they were drunk. All of them had been knocked dizzy by protective aura, so they wouldn't be able to engage in battle for a short while. Admiration filled Lin Kei from the bottom of his heart. To think the Jack Gang's leader actually had such boldness of spirit. If he had used protective aura to knock away some of the flying ants early in the beginning, he would have had no way out after the rest of the flying ants flung themselves at him. Protective Aura, a fighter's rudimentary mental cultivation technique. Practicing battle techniques externally, cultivating mental techniques internally, and combining both external and internal techniques into one. This was a fighter's approach to cultivation. At a low skill level, one could discharge aura waves with protective aura. At a high skill level, one could form an energy barrier over the surface of their body to resist damage. It was a move that directly discharged one's energy outward. Therefore, using it would take a huge toll on the user. Low-level fighters could only use it once per day. This was why Jack's only option was to wait for all the flying ants to land on him before he knocked them out in one go. With the ability to make the best decision during a time where every second mattered, thereby successfully countering Lin Kei's move, this man was indeed a tough nut to crack. Previously, Jack had expressed his admiration for Lin Kei several times. As the saying went, every dog has its day. Now that Lin Kei also had the chance to evaluate the other party, he paid back the condescension and passing of judgment from earlier to Jack in full. The analysis might sound very wordy, but in truth, only 2 to 3 seconds had passed. Jack closed his eyes and took a breath as he tried to suppress the pain in his body. A brief moment later, his eyes abruptly shot open, and he pounced toward Lin Kei once more. Stalling for time? Dream on! Jack had already seen through Lin Kei's tactics. It was nothing more than just talking to stall for time. Jack's power punch, which had landed on Lin Kei's solace just now, had caused Lin Kei to be unable to stand properly at the moment, let alone move. Now, Jack would use his next punch to send Lin Kei on his way. Damn! He's seen through me. Lin Kei gritted his teeth, but he didn't counter by firing. Instead, he bent over and dragged his numb left leg along the floor as he ran toward the outside, limping as he did so. Had it been any other time, perhaps 10 seconds wouldn't have been enough for one to do much. However, 10 seconds was an extremely long and slow period of time at the moment, enough to reverse the entire battle's outcome. Another power punch blasted toward Lin Kei. This time, Jack aimed for the spot on Lin Kei's back where the heart was. Should the punch connect, the inner might contained within the punch would allow Jack's fist to punch right through Lin Kei's flesh to reach the heart directly. It was a punch that would definitely kill once it hit the target. Lin Kei's legs were numb, and he limped as he fled. Even his breathing was becoming increasingly heavy. Jack's lips involuntarily curled up with a hint of a smile. He then said one last line, "You can already be proud of yourself for driving me this far." However, Jack had only just spoken when he suddenly felt his body becoming lighter. His expression dramatically changed at once. The bulletproof vest he was wearing had suddenly come off. Jack lowered his head to discover that yet another batch of silver army ants had somehow gotten onto his body again at some point in time. It was exactly these same army ants that had bitten his bulletproof vest into bits and pieces. All the steel plates, ceramic components, and advanced composite materials inside the bulletproof vest fell out of it. Lin Kei, on the other hand, had already turned around in the midst of his running at this point. He held the fully loaded tactical machine pistol in one hand as bullets burst forth from it like a heavy downpour. The bullets landed on Jack. Without the bulletproof materials inside, the bulletproof vest was nothing but just an undershirt at best. The bullets passed through the bulletproof vest effortlessly, embedding themselves in Jack's flesh audibly. Upon entering Jack's body, the strong kinetic force that these bullets carried began to explode. The bullets continuously pierced into his body, grinding his intestines into pulpy bits. It was as if a juicer's propeller blades had been installed inside his body. Clack, clack. Lin Kei's tactical machine pistol produced jamming sounds once he finished firing all the bullets. However, unlike what Lin Kei had imagined, Jack didn't stop in his tracks. On the contrary, he transformed into a primal beast and delivered a power punch toward Lin Kei with a deafening roar. "Is that guy a mutant?" Lin Kei hastily crossed his arms in front of him in a panic, trying to block the attack. The force of the punch was as though a racing ox or a train had rammed into Lin Kei. It directly blasted Lin Kei out, sending him crashing into a small hill-like mound of sand and earth. You've been hit by Jack's power punch LV3 and lost 58 health points. Your left arm has suffered an attack and entered a numb state. Effect will last 15 seconds. Lin Ke laid on the sand mound, panting heavily. His entire left arm felt as though it had been struck by lightning and millions of insects were biting at it. He couldn't move it at all. Jack held his abdomen with his left arm, which had been pierced by bullets, while he smacked the remaining army ants off his body with his right. He then stumbled toward Lin Ke. Blood and bits of flesh flowed through Jack's fingers with every step he took. The skin and flesh on his left forearm had split apart and curled outward. Under the frosty moonlight, the redness of his blood and flesh appeared savage and horrifying. Jack's eyes bore into Lin Ke. He wanted to burn Lin Ke's face into his memory. He had never ever thought there would come a day where a teenager would force him into such a pathetic state. How did you get those army ants? Jack still asked the final question in his mind before he killed Lin Ke. He had clearly waited for all the army ants to climb onto his body before he knocked them away with protective aura, so why were there still army ants on him? Not to mention that they had even bitten through and damaged his bulletproof vest without anyone realizing. Lin Ke, who was lying on the sand-dirt mound, cast a glance at the high-rise building in the distance. He then replied, the first wave of flying ants was just a feint meant to trick you into using protective aura. The ones that really attacked were the worker ants and soldier ants, which had secretly climbed onto you from your feet after you knocked the flying ants away. So the reason why you fled the whole way without firing was that you were waiting for the bulletproof vest to fall off. Lin Ke nodded in response to Jack's question and replied, evidently, I've succeeded. Jack raised his right fist and gathered the last wave of energy in him. He then said, however, that's all there is to it. You may have won the battle, but I won the war. Jack took step after step toward Lin Ke. There were only 2 to 3 meters between the two of them. Additionally, Lin Ke could also sense that the other party had poured all his energy into his fist. This was Jack's final punch. Lin Ke had a very calm and peaceful expression on his face. As the other party closed in on him, the corners of Lin Ke's lips even curled up into an indescribable smile slowly. Sand Condor, now. During the two's conversation just now, Sand Condor had already received Lin Ke's command and was currently swooping down from the top of the building silently. Jack swung his head behind him, only to see a large condor near the top of his head. Right on the heels of it, a narrow-range sandstorm swept through the Jack Gang base's open-air lounge beside the river and enveloped Jack within it. With the combination of the night's darkness and the sandstorm, Jack's visibility of his surroundings dropped nearly to zero right away. Bracing himself against the violent winds, Jack gritted his teeth and continued to advance, only to find that Lin Ke was no longer in sight. 15 seconds later, the sandstorm abated, and Sand Condor fled into the sky. The whole base was as quiet as a graveyard. The sand mound was still the same as ever, but Lin Ke, who had been lying on top of it, had already vanished. A layer of fine sand covered the ground, yet there were no footprints whatsoever. It was as if the man had vanished into thin air. Damn! I let him get away. Jack cursed as he loosened his fist. The breath of air he had been keeping in also escaped, and his entire self suddenly turned weak and powerless from exhaustion. Flop! Out of strength, Jack dropped onto one knee on the floor, propping his intact right arm against the floor to support himself. The pain from his left arm and abdomen assailed his senses, and perspiration drenched his forehead. Right at this moment, the sand mound on the floor suddenly moved. A gun barrel poked out of the sand mound, and 2 pitch-black muzzles took aim at Jack's head. I'm the one that has won in the end. Bang! Bang! Lin Ke fired the shotgun twice in rapid succession, blowing Jack's head apart instantly. The bullet's powerful inertial force sent Jack's body flying. Before it landed on the ground, it rolled and overturned quite a few rounds. Then, it finally came to a stop. Jack's whole body looked as if it had been directly ripped apart by some kind of great force from the neck down. Blood was also spurting everywhere. Neither could it hold the internal organs in the stomach any longer, they spilled all over the floor just like Oden1, messy and forming a sight unbearable to behold. 1. Chapter 33, Please, is there any end to this? Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. You've used the pump-action shotgun and struck Jack's head, dealing a 257-point critical hit. You've used the pump-action shotgun and struck Jack's head, dealing a 203-point critical hit. You've killed Jack, level 10 plus elite, and gained 5000 EXP. Upon seeing the system notifications, Lin Ke finally heaved a sigh of relief. He put down the shotgun in his hand and slumped onto the sand mound. Going beyond his current level to kill a level 10 elite solo really wasn't something meant to be done by a human. 1. Treasure hunter rat scurried out of Lin Ke's clothes and climbed onto his shoulder. It stuck out its little tongue and licked Lin Ke's cheek repeatedly, using its own way to express concern. Sand Condor circled one round in the sky before swooping down toward Lin Ke, intending to have a huge hug with its master to celebrate a little. Oh my god, is there any end to this? Lin Ke's arm was still numb, so he could only grit his teeth and tense up his body, working hard to turn over and fall to the side. As for Sand Condor, bam! It dove headfirst into the sand. Bullseye! Phew! Phew! Lin Ke let out a pent-up breath. He had survived Jack, but he had almost been jabbed to death by his own pet. The irregular status effect on Lin Ke was still in effect, so he decided that he might as well take this opportunity to submit the full extermination mission. You've completed the D-level mission, full extermination, and gained 10,000 EXP. After adding up the EXP from cutting down the Jack Gang thugs and killing the boss, Lin Ke currently had a total of 26,835 EXP. Sustaining 2 punches and an additional energy wave from a punch's force had directly reduced Lin Ke's full HP to a pathetically low amount. He was currently left with only 29 HP. The moment his irregular status effect wore off, Lin Ke immediately chose to level up so that he'd return to a fully restored condition. Leveling up from LV6 to LV7 will consume 3600 EXP. Will you level up? Yes/no. Yes. At once, the aches and swelling all over Lin Ke's body disappeared, and Lin Ke looked brand new once more, as if he had been revived. The very first thing Lin Ke did the moment he got up was to remove the boxing gloves from Jack's hands. Spiked boxing gloves. Quality, green. Parameters, 10 to 15 attack power. Durability, 270/300. Equipment requirement, SLV 5 and above 1. Stat boost, agility +2. Special effect, S on hit, has a chance of causing bleeding effect. When he was done checking the equipment's stats, Lin Ke put on the spiked boxing gloves without any hesitation. At his current level, there were simply too few pieces of equipment that could boost his attributes and provide special effects. Besides, the boxing gloves didn't get in the way of him shooting, so they were pretty much permanently worn weapons. Lin Ke stared at all the corpses in the place. What came next was the body-searching segment, which he was all too happy to see. How much profit will clearing out the Jack Gang bring me? Lin Ke walked over to the mound of sand and plucked Sand Condor out. He then instructed, "Get Forbes here to help with the body searching." Now that the big battle was over, it was time to get Forbes in here. Sand Condor flapped its wings and took off, crashing into the roof and then into the wall as it struggled. In the end, it simply decided to straight up imitate a duck. It twisted its butt from side to side as it walked in a sexy waddle and ran out to get Forbes. Lin Ke had already gotten somewhat used to Sand Condor's performance art by now. If it became proper and serious one day, he might actually find it stranger. On account of how it has never messed up during critical moments, I'll put up with it. Before starting the body search, Lin Ke nevertheless erred on the side of caution and reloaded all his guns. He couldn't help but feel like something fell a little short. Fewer than 30 people had been in the Jack Gang's base despite it being nighttime. On top of that, Lin Ke didn't know where the remaining 30 to 40 people had gone, they might just come back at any moment. It was only after he had made all the preparations that would allow him to jump into battle right away that Lin Ke finally started to search the corpses with treasure hunter rat. Squeak, squeak. Just as Lin Ke was searching a corpse, treasure hunter rat suddenly began to squeak excitedly. Treasure hunter rat stood in front of a door in the Jack gang's base and agitatedly straightened its body as it called for Lin Ke to come over. Little treasure, you're saying that you've sensed some good stuff in that room. Lin Ke was rather curious as to what kind of object could actually make treasure hunter rat that excited. He had only just taken 2 steps forward when a foreboding feeling suddenly came over him, and the back of his head started to tingle. This was an instinct purely trained through 6 years of game experience, it had nothing to do with his sensory perception. Lin Ke fished out the pistol and the tactical machine pistol from the gun sling with both hands and turned around at once. In the dark clearly stood a man. Moonlight vaguely outlined his silhouette. Regardless of that, Lin Ke was unable to get a clear view of the man's looks or details of his appearance. A chill ran up Lin Ke's spine and rushed straight into his head. Where did that man come from? Why hadn't even treasure hunter rat, who is usually very sensitive to smell, discovered him approaching? The reason why Lin Ke had felt like something wasn't right was mainly because everything was too quiet, so much so that it felt rather bizarre. It was as if the Jack gang's base had been isolated from the rest of the world, as if all the sounds had been blocked inside. Lin Ke tossed a round of Scout over at the silhouette in the shadows. The information that Scout gave Lin Ke instantly made him feel as if he'd fallen into an ice cave. In view of the targets and your levels, the following information has been obtained. Name, unknown. Race, human. Level, LV 40+, legend. Status, unknown. Special abilities, Midnight Phantom. The user can conceal his aura once night falls. Their actions will not produce any sound. Movement speed at night plus 50%, agility plus 20%. Appraisal, do not struggle. Think about your last words instead. Lin Ke was dismayed after reading the information. He had only just killed a level 10 plus elite a moment ago. Not even 10 minutes had gone by, yet a level 40 plus legendary had now shown up. Were legends mass manufactured these days? Why was it that he could even bump into one when he was just wiping out a small gang? Everything about the man was unknown. The only piece of information that had appeared, his special ability, was enough to shock Lin Ke's eyeballs out of his sockets. The man was ridiculously strong. Lin Ke didn't dare to act rashly. Should the other party really intend to attack, just his finger alone was more than enough to jab open and break apart Lin Ke's head. Nevertheless, Lin Ke didn't give up on saving himself. He continuously summoned Sand Condor in his mind. Lin Ke could clearly detect Sand Condor's current position. It was near the Jack-o'-lantern V8. But no matter how he tried to contact it, Sand Condor simply didn't respond. It wasn't dead yet, he could still sense its presence. Either it was currently under someone else's control or it had been knocked out. Lin Ke's mind was totally blank. A foreboding feeling surged within him. The Jack-o'-lantern V8. Sand Condor under someone else's control. Forbes. Surely he hasn't met with danger? What did you do to my friend? Friend? Isn't he your servant? The shadow in the dark spoke, his throaty voice carrying the vicissitudinous quality that was exclusive to a middle-aged man. The sound of his voice immediately gave off a feeling as though the owner was someone with a long, rich story behind him. Lin Ke's brows locked into a tight frown, and a foreboding feeling coming over him at once. That man seemed to know him very well. Legend NPCs were usually nowhere to be found. In his past life, even all the way until he had reached version 6.0 Heart of the Swarm, Lin Ke had only met a few legend NPCs. What puzzled him even more was that even legend NPCs from the Wastelands planet could only successfully advance to such a status after the game had officially launched and after the story had gone through various big, main scenario incidents. He hadn't heard of players encountering legend NPCs at all during the beginning of the game's launch. If you want that thing inside, then feel free to take it. The other party was deep and unfathomable. On top of that, his speech was airtight and revealed nothing. One couldn't see through his intentions at all. The only thing Lin Ke could do now was to try and pry for a bit of useful information from the other party's mouth by talking to him constantly. And also, to buy time along the way while waiting for the silver army ants to recover. Compared to what's inside, I'm still more interested in you. Lin Ke's frown deepened even further. If he had been interested in the Jack gang's things, Lin Ke might have been able to make use of the opportunity to escape. However, not only were that man's words unpredictable and didn't go according to expectations, but they also puzzled Lin Ke. So, what kind of questions do you have? I'll definitely tell you everything I know and answer them without reservations. Really? Then, I'll go ahead and ask. The man's reply made Lin Ke tense up instead, and he couldn't help but grumble inwardly. Just how much does he know? When did he start following me? It was just a momentary pause, but Lin Ke felt as if every passing second was as long as a year. Although the other party was hidden in the shadows, Lin Ke could nevertheless sense a pair of sharp, shrewd eyes in the dark that could see through him. What's your objective in coming to Sand City? Lin Ke's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling about this. I escaped from the Wastelands gang. My purpose in coming to Sand City is for survival and to flee from those monsters' control, of course. That's it. The other party's two simple words were enough to make Lin Ke's heart skip a beat. I discovered a pocket watch with the words "For my dear friend, Moros" written on it in Howling Ancient Castle when I passed by it during my escape. Since Howling Ancient Castle used to be occupied by royalty in the past, I thought that, if I came to Sand City and try my luck here, I might be able to find that Moros guy. This thing is likely very important to him, so it should be able to get my servant and I a place in the city. After careful consideration, Lin Ke decided to use Moros's pocket watch as a scapegoat. Firstly, that thing was indeed a hidden mission, so it would be convincing. Secondly, not only was that mysterious legend's aura simply too strong, but his objective was also unknown. In contrast, Moros was one of the three emperors of Sand City. No matter how one looked at it, sacrificing a sea-level mission in exchange for his life was a winning deal that didn't bring him any loss at all. Lin Ke had an abundance of sea-level missions in his mind. One fewer didn't hurt. The mysterious man in the shadows didn't reply. His silence caused Lin Ke to be awfully nervous. It seems, like the other party, has something to say about the matter? A friendly tip for you: if you wish to look for Moros, just grab any 3-year-old kid on the streets of Sand City. Even they would be able to tell you Moros's address. Lin Ke's heart sank to the very bottom. The underlying meaning of the mysterious man's words was that he wasn't interested in the pocket watch, nor Moros. The mysterious man bent over slightly and placed his briefcase aside. He then said, "A slave that escaped from the Wastelands gang and passed through the Machinery Holy Cult's territory. He then discovered a secret at Howling Ancient Castle. He can control living organisms and even has a servant. Looking at the combination of all these things, I'd never believe it if you claim that there are no secrets behind it. Since you're not willing to say it, then, I can only look for it myself." His words sentenced Lin Ke to death directly. Lin Ke instantly gave up his fantasies and prepared to fight a last-ditch battle. Whistle. As a whistle rang out, Lin Ke simultaneously raised both pistols, dousing the enemy madly in bullets. At the same time, the army ants also suddenly appeared behind the mysterious man. As it turned out, Lin Ke had already mentally controlled the now recovered army ants during his exchange of words with the mysterious man and soundlessly gathered them behind the mysterious man. The moment Lin Ke gave the order, they would move out in unison. Killing a level 40 legend NPC was just a fool's dream. What Lin Ke wanted was for the army ants to buy him a few seconds so that he could escape. He was very familiar with all of Sand City's streets and alleys. At this point, he could only play hide and seek if he wanted to survive. However, Lin Ke pretty much had a mental breakdown the very next second. The mysterious man stood where he was and successfully dodged all the bullets without even moving a step. Right on the heels of it, the silver army ants which Lin Ke was exceedingly proud of went toward him like an all-encompassing net that covered the sky and the ground. Yet, the mysterious man had knocked back all the silver army ants with just a casual wave of his hand, with no exception whatsoever. 2s. Chapter 34, Identity Revealed. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. The defensive tactic that Lin Ke had secretly set up was made redundant in an instant. It could not even delay the man for a second. Without sand condors engulfing sand as cover, the only thing Lin Ke could do was run. He jumped over the half-meter-tall fence and ran toward the wall at the back. In a second, a figure abruptly appeared in front of Lin Ke and kicked Lin Ke back into the hallway with a lightning-quick side kick. You've been hit by a side kick from Man in Black and lost 50 health points. 1. You've crashed into the floor. Your endurance has resisted the resulting damage. Lin Ke laid on the floor as he groaned in pain. The mysterious man was too powerful. The only detected ability, Midnight Phantom, was so overpowered that it would have left one in despair. The man was already a level 40 legend character, so his 7-dimensional stats were freakishly high. Plus, the 50% increase in movement speed at night granted by Midnight Phantom left Lin Ke feeling hopeless. The man in black walked over in no hurry as he curiously sized up the man curled up in pain on the floor. Get up, stop pretending. I know how I kicked. Also, don't think of touching that shotgun. You'll have no chance of firing. The man in black opened his palm as buckshot ammunition clattered on the ground. Lin Ke stood up hurriedly and checked his shotgun chamber. It was empty. Lin Ke had loaded up all his weaponry after he killed Jack, yet all 4 buckshot bullets now fell into the man in black's hands. It sent a chill up his spine, and Lin Ke shivered suddenly. Our only contact was that side kick. How did he manage to kick me away while unloading the shotgun in no more than 1 second? That was too fast. If the man in black wanted to, I would have become a dead man by now. The sense of pressure the man imposed on Lin Ke was too much to handle. He was like a human X-ray machine that could see through everything running through Lin Ke's mind. In the eyes of the opponent, everything he did would make him seem like a clown. Your body doesn't have any signs of mutation, so you're not a mutant. Body energy levels aren't high, and I can't sense any natural breath, not a druid either. The man in black squatted down and picked up a silver army ant, placing it on his palm to examine it in detail. Fully metallic organism, lifelike in appearance. If I'm not wrong, this should be some form of new biorobotics. He then tilted his head and looked at Lin Ke. But you have a pure human body, and I can't detect any electrical signals, so how did you manipulate them? Lin Ke's heart sank to the very bottom. The mysterious man had shown his hands. He's coming for my cheating device. The man threw away the army ant as he stood up and signaled to Lin Ke. I've watched your battle just now. Show me whatever you've got for me, or you'll never have the chance again. He had only just spoken when. Ha! Lin Ke shouted as he waved his fists and charged up for close combat. His punches were far inferior compared to Jack just now. The man watched with doubtful eyes because he didn't understand why Lin Ke had the audacity to attack with his random punches. Compared to Jack's gem, watching Lin Ke punch would make for an eyesore. The man in black wanted to see what Lin Ke had up his sleeves, so he did not strike back. He blocked Lin Ke's punches with only his left hand instead. You've successfully hit Mysterious Man with a melee attack and activated your special ability, Basic Fist Fighting. Basic Fist Fighting progress, 2%. 4%. Immediately after, Lin Ke saw the word block appearing on the man's body every time he hit him. All of Lin Ke's attacks were blocked by just a single hand. This hand was like a cold metal door, impenetrable no matter which angle Lin Ke attacked from. The man in black was waiting for Lin Ke's actual plan to reveal itself. He clearly knew that these useless and random punches were just the tip of the iceberg. In order to see what Lin Ke was up to, he was willing to practice with him. The word practice summed it up perfectly, at least Lin Ke would understand it better. In normal circumstances, the basic fist fighting proficiency would only rise at a rate of 0.1%. But since the opponent was a level 40 plus legend, Lin Ke's proficiency in basic fist fighting sharply rose to 40% within seconds. Strength, weak. Agility, crawls like a tortoise. Energy, negligible. Endurance, barely. Charm, M. The man in black did not hold back. He blocked each hit as he aired until he spoke of quality. He looked at Lin Ke's body features and ran short of words. Lin Ke was still looking for a chance against the opponent, though those derogatory s were demoralizing, especially when charm was mentioned. What did he mean by M? Lin Ke felt humiliated. You can kill me, but you can't insult me. Lin Ke let out a great shout as he launched a flurry of punches at the man. 2. The man in black parried the strikes with a single hand, seemingly too easy for him. Lin Ke's rage did not affect him a single bit. Your proficiency in basic fist fighting has reached 100%, activated special ability basic fist fighting LV1. With the sound of the system notification, Lin Ke had activated basic fist fighting. Basic fist fighting LV1, melee attack plus 1%, attacking speed plus 1%, melee hit rate, plus 1%. Lin Ke did not bother. How was he going to benefit from the sharp increase in proficiency if he was about to die? Without warning, the man in black switched from defense to offense. He sent a quick palm strike with his left hand, slapping Lin Ke away and into the air. The power in that strike was much superior to Jack's, and it propelled Lin Ke away. Though this force was rather controlled, it forced Lin Ke back instead of hurting him. Lin Ke staggered backward after he landed unscathed. If it's just this, then there is nothing much to look forward to, said the man as he touched the collar button on his suit. The suit emitted an electrical arc visible to the naked eye, in a loop down from the neck to the ankle, covering the entire body. Right after that the man shook his clothes, and a lot of silver particles fell out. They were all silver army ants paralyzed by the electric current. You were thinking of secretly transporting the army ants onto me through close combat. Not a bad idea, and that intent was well disguised by your fury. Well, it was just that your combat skills were such an eyesore, and if I carried on watching, I'm afraid I can't help but vomit. So, your little trick ends here. Shock overcame Lin Ke's face as he felt that he was just like a clown. The other party knew everything he was trying to do, and any resistance was ultimately futile. If it was just seeing through him, Lin Ke could still tolerate that. Yet, this guy's wicked tongue was well beyond his true power, relentless at breaking people down. Lin Ke stood in front of the sand mountain, the very place where he ended Jack. And now, it seemed to be his end. Looks like you have no more trump cards. The man walked out of the base slowly. With the moonlight shining on him, Lin Ke could finally look at the man clearly. Then, Lin Ke was stunned. Dressed in an exquisite and well-ironed black suit and sporting vicissitudinous stubble on his chin, wasn't he this the artist he met at the inn? Lin Ke's brain went blank. He had never expected that the artist he met at the inn would be a legend NPC. The artist seemed to enjoy looking at Lin Ke's dumbfounded face as he spread his hands. You look surprised. Lin Ke was anxious as he tried his best to remember whether he offended the artist at the inn, whether it was crashing through the door or the apology with cash. Though the artist did not seem to show any mercy as a pencil used for sketches appeared in his hand out of the blue. Do you think a pencil can kill you? 1. Lin Ke looked at the pencil in the artist's hand, and then his eyes widened. The appearance of this pencil was like the first domino that fell. Much of Lin Ke's scattered memories emerged with this pencil, linking up and forming a complete series of events. Lin Ke's expression changed multiple times, and finally, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. He finally knew who this artist was now. I don't think so, replied Lin Ke with great confidence. This sudden change in attitude caught the artist's attention. Though I don't know where you got your confidence from, this place will soon become your grave. Before the sound of his voice faded away, the artist had come to the front of Lin Ke and knocked him onto the sand mound in a flash. At the same time, Lin Ke got out a sentence with the fastest speed in his entire life. Martha can be saved. The scene froze for an instant. The artist's pencil had reached Lin Ke's chin. A little further, and it would have pierced through his jaw. Lin Ke also had a sharp dagger at the artist's chest. The artist did not seem as relaxed as before. He asked forcefully, "Speak. How did you know?" Lin Ke did not answer as he asked, "So, what does this mean now?" The artist withdrew the pencil gradually. Lin Ke did the same with his dagger. "It means that you've won this time." After he realized the artist's identity, Lin Ke's mentality changed slightly, and he started his counterattack. "Actually, you're not really out to kill me. You were just testing my capabilities and background, right?" The artist put the pencil into his breast pocket with a cold expression. "Now, I really want to kill you." Lin Ke could tell that he was not joking. "Really, your wife can be saved?" The artist, an NPC that did not exist in the game's public beta. A dead NPC, yet had various legends told about him. Even the main quests at Wasteland's planet were caused by the person in front of Lin Ke. In the past, players completing the main quests at Wasteland's planet would often hear about a man named John from the advanced NPCs 1. Hence, the plot gang 1. A Chinese description of people who were more focused on the storyline/content/plot than any other aspects of the literature work/movie/game in the game forum started gathering information on anything related to John, which eventually came together and formed a complete story. It was no exaggeration to say that, without this man, there would be no main scenario for Wasteland's planet. A man who could only be heard and not seen, a man who would forever appear through the words of others, a man who won over every male player and made enough female players cry. "No, it's hopeless." The artist's tone became depressed, it was full of vicissitudes. 3s. Chapter 35, The Artist's Repayment. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. If the top 10 most touching characters of Wasteland's planet in version 1.0 were to be elected, John the artist and his wife Martha's count would definitely win by a landslide to become the center of attention. I only need to speak, and you only need to listen. Don't ask me where I heard it from either. I have reasons why I cannot answer you with regard to that. The machinery Holy Cult has been dead to the development of harvesting energy from dreams all this time. But because of the Freedom Federation and the Wastelands Gang's pincer attack, the number of human batteries that they've obtained during the last few years has dropped significantly. Under such circumstances, they have redirected their focus and begun to research on reviving brain-dead humans in hopes that they can reuse human batteries. It's said that their research has seen a bit of success. I believe that with your information channels, verifying the authenticity of this information isn't something difficult for you. The artist's dark countenance cleared up slightly. As he looked at Lin Ke, his eyes carried some puzzlement but also an additional hint of light now. Had it been someone else that had told him this, he would never believe them. However, the teenager in front of him simply carried too many mysteries and secrets on him. On top of that, he even knew of the secret that he'd never once mentioned to anyone: Martha was actually still alive. The reason why the artist had tracked Lin Ke the whole way was that he wanted his puzzlement resolved. Yet, not only had his puzzlement not been resolved upon showing himself, but they had increased instead. Surely the Wastelands planet's top assassin can tell whether I'm telling the truth or not. If worse comes to worst, even if I've lied to you, it's not hard for you to find me with your skills, right? The artist gazed at Lin Ke with a complex look in his eyes. John's rationality told him that he had already utilized every solution there was, as well as searched through all the connections he had. But even so, all he could do was put Martha in cryostasis. It was impossible for any sort of technology that could revive a dead person to be unknown to him. 1. However, his emotions told him that Lin Ke indeed knew a lot of secrets. Moreover, he could tell that Lin Ke truly wasn't lying. You should be able to tell that I'm currently very troubled. If you can provide some more evidence, I'll belie. Before the artist even finished, Lin Ke had already spoken. Alan Snow Mountains. That's enough. I believe you. The artist hastily cut Lin Ke off. Even his hand was shaking at this moment. Lin Ke had revealed the place where he'd hidden his wife without any hesitation. He had never told anyone about the place before. Everything had been personally seen to and handled by him. John's brain had undergone special training to close it off, whether by hypnosis, psychokinesis, or telepathy. None of these methods could retrieve any information from his brain. Therefore, he could eliminate the possibility of Lin Ke using mind-reading techniques or other supernatural abilities to steal information from his memories. With that, the answer was extremely clear: this Lin Ke guy indeed had a thing or two. In under a minute, the situation had gone through an overwhelming change. Lin Ke proudly straightened his back, while the artist became dazed and despondent. However, you must never go to Machinery City. Or at least, don't go there within this half a year. Lin Ke's course of conversation abruptly changed at this point. At once, the artist's expression, which hope had initially been arising on, froze. Lin Ke had given him hope, yet he wasn't allowing him to go. This was even more agonizing than not having any hope at all. Why can't I go? Once you go, you'll die. The artist's expression mellowed slightly. Machinery City was a lion's den. Even someone like him would find himself out of his depth if he went there alone. Hence, he could understand why Lin Ke would say that. But even if a sliver of hope was all he had, he, nevertheless, had to revive the person he loved the most. You've passed the trial, said the artist as he extricated himself from his grief and returned to his previous demeanor and calmness. So it really was a trial. Lin Ke had vaguely found it somewhat strange when they were crossing swords just now. With John's capabilities, killing him would be a piece of cake for him if he'd really wanted to. Yet, he had given Lin Ke opportunities time and time again and constantly probed for Lin Ke's trump cards. On top of that, John had controlled his attack's intensity and refrained from attacks that would take Lin Ke's life in one go. After that, Lin Ke had come to a ridiculous conclusion: John had something to request of him. Lin Ke's first reaction was to reject the request. Just how serious of a matter must something that could make a level 40+ legend bring up a request be? Was it something that he could undertake at his current level? Nevertheless, Lin Ke's curiosity still prompted him to open his mouth. So, what happens now that I've passed the trial? The artist sized up Lin Ke. Then, his facial expression gradually turned from a stern one into a smiling one. Crossing his arms in front of his chest, John then leaned against a railing at the side and asked, "Interested in doing something big with me?" Yeah right, as if I'm gonna believe you. Strength, weak. Agility, crawls like a tortoise. Energy, negligible. Endurance, barely. Charm, no f***ing words. Are you sure I'll be of any help at such a standard? Amusement continued to linger at the artist's lip corners, together with a hint of approving appreciation. Had it been anyone else, they definitely would have been overjoyed upon his invitation. But not only was the kid in front of him not excited at all, but he had even taken the time to get back at him. Using his own words to trip him up, this feeling sure felt annoying. No assassin or bounty hunter has ever rejected my invitation. Yuri the first. The artist reached into his blazer's inner pocket, took out a gold coin, and forcefully flipped it with his thumb. The gold coin spun in the air, melodiously tinkling as it did. Some distance away, treasure hunter Rat's black, rice grain-sized eyes immediately widened by several times. Its mouth was slightly ajar, its entire mouse self in a state of odd astonishment. Its line of sight had been firmly captivated by the gold coin. Lin Ke subconsciously reached out and caught the gold coin. As he brushed his thumb against its surface, he then clearly saw the pattern on the gold coin under the moonlight. Upon which, his countenance immediately turned livid and indescribably strange. At the same time, a series of notifications from the system also popped up. You've obtained the Eye of Providence gold coin and successfully activated assassin status. Unlocked forces, the Platinum Hotel 1. You've obtained the artist's affection. Affection meter plus 10. John's current affection meter, 10/100, bland. Are you giving me this because you want me dead? Lin Ke grumbled as he stared at the Eye of Providence gold coin in his hand. But when he looked up, the artist was already nowhere to be seen. The Jack gang's entire base was empty. Only moonlight and a light breeze remained. Little treasure, did you see when he left? Lin Ke asked after he regained his senses. Treasure hunter rat scampered over to him as it shook its head and indicated that it didn't know. Its two little eyes then became fixed on the Eye of Providence gold coin in Lin Ke's hand. Lin Ke stared at the hot potato in his hand, awfully troubled. He really wanted to give himself a tight slap now. Why did I claim to be a weakling for no good reason? Just like this, see GIF 1. Great, I've now been forcibly thrown into the death mode enhancement class by John. He's a wily old fox indeed. I was scheming and plotting the whole time, but I've still fallen for his tricks in the end. The gold coin in Lin Ke's hand was emblazoned with a thorny rose motif on one side and a golden pyramid design on the other. Unlike the pyramids found in deserts, the tip of the pyramid depicted on the gold coin was flat. There was also a gigantic glowing eye at the top of the pyramid, which symbolized omniscience and omnipotence. It was also the origin of the Eye of Providence gold coin's name. As for the coin itself, rather than calling it money, one might as well call it a status indicator or a key instead. Just like what the system had stated, those that obtained the Eye of Providence gold coin would automatically become a Platinum Hotel member where the members' identities were assassins. Platinum Hotel was the assassins and bounty hunters' base. It was an organization that operated across geographies. They had branches located in every corner of the Wastelands planet. There, one could undertake any bounty quest or wanted mission, as well as enjoy service of the highest class, including but not limited to all sorts of customized equipment and information. Platinum Hotel was a completely neutral organization that, by itself, didn't hold any bias toward any party. As long as one operated within Platinum Hotel's rules, they would receive the organization's goodwill. That sounded pretty great, right? On the surface, the artist had appeared to have given Lin Ke a deposit and benefits. But in truth, once one left Platinum Hotel's grounds, they would no longer be under its protection. Lin Ke naturally understood what the saying "an innocent man's only crime is to possess the precious stone" meant. One must understand that quite a fair number of people in the Wastelands planet desired either Platinum Hotel's protection or its top-rate services. Even fellow assassins and bounty hunters would attack, kill, and rob each other for the huge benefits that the Eye of Providence gold coin brought. Lin Ke having an Eye of Providence gold coin on him now was akin to him entering a dark forest alone while carrying a torch. Innumerable beasts lurked where the light couldn't reach, trying to launch a lethal attack on Lin Ke. To save your life, I've even gone as far as forcibly altering the planet's main scenario. Yet, you immediately give me an Eye of Providence gold coin in return? Is this something that I can hold right now? Lin Ke looked awfully gloomy. His instant counter had come doubled in size and extra large. He had really been instantly KO'd by 17 CARDS1. Lin Ke's decision to reveal the main scenario and stop the artist from going to Machinery City had been a thought-out one. Since John's death was the starting point of Wasteland's planet's main scenario, it meant that once John's death was averted, the whole planet's main scenario would also change along with it. Rather than waiting for the main scenario that would only come when the game officially launched, he might as well form a good relationship with Wasteland's planet's top assassin and quasi-lead right away. By that time, no matter how the main scenario changed, it would definitely still be related to John, the template of a quasi-lead. Lin Ke would also be able to maximize his benefits. He might even have the chance to monopolize the planet's main scenario and underlying plotline quests. That man is so shameless. He's actually repaying kindness with enmity. The older ones were still wiser in the end. Lin Ke's scalp tingled. It looks like things are going to be rough for a while. John didn't linger in the Jack Gang's base. The amount of information he had received that night was a little too much. John fished out a dated-looking 9-key mobile phone and dialed a number as he walked along the road. "You actually still know how to call? Do you know how long it's been since you last called?" "Two things, Chen." "Say it." "Firstly, I've given a kid named Lin Ke an Eye of Providence gold coin." "Ooh, to be able to receive an Eye of Providence gold coin from the King of Assassins, that kid must be a very interesting one." "Secondly, look something up for me." Lin Ke cursed and swore for 4 to 5 minutes straight until he had exhausted all the derogatory vocabulary in his repertoire. Only then was he finally forced to end his DPS-1. Treasure hunter rat cowered in the corner at the side, with its paws covering its ears. It had never seen its cultured and easy-going master this flustered and exasperated before. The silver army ants also gradually recovered and gathered together on the ground, taking in the scary aura around Lin Ke. The way they were gathered beside their master at a spot about 2 meters away highly resembled curious but unconcerned onlookers that didn't know what was going on. After ranting for a long time, Lin Ke finally let out a pent-up breath. Since things had already come to this point, there was nothing he could do about it anymore. His only option was to try and improve his strength and capabilities at a faster rate. "Boss? Boss?" Forbes's voice traveled over from outside the dim, dark alley. Sand Condor also flew in from mid-air. "Boss, I think I fell asleep while I was waiting for you just now," said Forbes in an aggrieved tone. He jogged over to Lin Ke, and then he asked carefully, "I didn't miss anything, did I?" Lin Ke took a deep breath and gave Forbes a pat on the shoulder. He then pointed at the corpses on the floor and said, "Come in, let's get to work." 1. Chapter 36, Trafficking Business. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Treasure hunter rat held onto the coin with both its tiny hands as it merrily rolled around on Lin Ke's palm, seemingly unwilling to part with it. It naturally acted like this because Platinum Hotel's Eye of Providence gold coin was cast with gold of ultra-high purity, coupled with special craftsmanship to make sure that it would not corrode away as time passed. Every single gold coin ever made was maintained at 8.22 grams. Lin Ke wasn't as pleased. Does this rat even know the meaning of this gold coin? How can it deem it as a treasure? Lin Ke pulled the coin away from treasure hunter rat, picked it up by its neck, and shook it gently. "Hey, little treasure, wake up. You said that treasures were hidden in Jack Gang's base. Bring me there at once." Treasure hunter rat came to its senses and reluctantly pulled its eyes away from the gold coin. It jumped onto the floor and sped toward the door while it signaled for Lin Ke to follow. "Forbes, search outside. I'll look inside." Forbes did not even look up as he replied cheerfully, "Yes, boss. Please carry on." With close to 30 bodies for him to search, Forbes's eyes lit up. He placed his handheld searchlight on the stone table at the side and started rummaging as if he were at a feast. Lin Ke followed Little Treasure and walked into the base. The interior setup of the Jack Gang's base was not different from when Lin Ke last visited in his previous life. There was a clear distinction between work and recreation areas. The work area was mainly separated into 2 types. One type was office cubicles, just like for urban white-collar workers, while the other was an octagonal fighting arena with various fitness equipment. It would seem rather peculiar at first glance. One would question how these 2 entirely different styles could be known as the work area. Upon understanding the nature of the Jack Gang's business, the reason was clear. The main business for the Jack Gang was collecting protection fees. Hatchet men used the cubicles to record the details of their monthly collections. On the other hand, the fighting arena was the place where they maintained their body fitness to maximize their advantage and exert dominance on the streets while they patrolled and collected fees. The recreation area was more straightforward. A large television, some tables, and a few benches were perfect for having meals and watching matches. Further in would be the office of Jack Gang's boss. It was a huge space for one person. It also had a whole picture window, so one could admire the prosperous uptown across the canal whenever they turned their head. When the Venetian blinds were rolled down, the brightly lit scenery from across and the sparkling water could be seen through the gaps. There was also a door beside the picture window and a 20-meter-long balcony behind it. The most striking feature of all would surely be the chair, which was completely different from the room's main style. The elegant burlwood office table and the mahogany bookshelf that filled up the entire wall gave off a cultivated, well-educated vibe. Yet, in between was a wild tiger-skin chair, which destroyed any aesthetic conception created before, leaving behind a sense of the nouveau riche. In a corner of the room stood an old metal safe that was the height of half a man. Having scanned Jack's office, Lin Kei didn't know where to start since there was so much to about. Treasure Hunter Rat leaped straight up the office table, squeaking non-stop as it pointed to the large bookshelf. "So you mean there's a hidden space behind this bookshelf?" Treasure Hunter Rat nodded. It could sense something behind the wall, though it didn't know how to enter. Lin Kei blew a whistle to gather up the army ants. He then pointed at the old metal safe. "Here's your mission, open the safe." Having experienced 2 tough battles, with the second one ending up being obliterated by John, the army ants were filled with pent-up rage. Upon locating the safe, they completely swarmed and surrounded the safe as its metal surface disappeared at a visible speed. Lin Kei did not idle around as he started looking for a way to open the secret room. When he raided the Jack Gang in his past life, Lin Kei only blew open the safe and left after plundering the money and arms. He earned $300,000 in cash after selling the loot. He did not know of the hidden room in the boss's office. Now that he thought about it, the safe outside had to be just the tip of the iceberg. The actual treasure lay within the hidden room. Since it was a hidden room, there definitely had to be a switch somewhere that opened up the bookshelf. "Little treasure, locate any metallic object in this entire bookshelf." Lin Kei held the Treasure Hunter Rat in his hand and used it as a living metal detector. Treasure Hunter Rat stood on its master's hand as it quivered its nose to sniff out anything metallic. Finally, it sniffed out something almost undetectable on the right-hand side. Squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak. "Over here?" "Okay, got it." Treasure Hunter Rat climbed up Lin Kei's shoulder automatically, freeing its master's hand. Due to the weakness of the signal, Treasure Hunter Rat could only give an approximate location. The rest was up to Lin Kei. Since the approximate location was confirmed, the rest only required his hands. Lin Kei started to pull out books from the shelf. When he pulled out a red leather book, Animal Encyclopedia, the bookshelf let out rattling sounds of moving gears. "Found it!" Lin Kei immediately drew his tactical machine pistol and handgun once the bookshelf started to split into 2 outward. This was a place he never discovered in his previous life, so he had to be extra cautious. It was only natural for Lin Kei to be cautious after the events that transpired today, first encountering level 10 elite, Jack, then the level 40 legend king of assassins John 3. Experience was the mother of all wisdom, after all. How could he not be careful after it happened 2 times? "Little treasure, sense whether there's anyone inside." Lin Kei carefully entered as he walked along the stairs. Squeak, squeak. Treasure Hunter Rat sniffed out a mixed, complex odor. The smell was very strange, rich and peculiar, completely different from humans. It tried to extract and decipher each distinct smell before informing its master. Lin Kei silently walked till the turn of the stairs. He decided to wait for Little Treasure's response before he determined his next move. Just as it successfully extracted a distinct smell, Treasure Hunter Rat felt the terrifying majesty in the smell. It was so frightened that it froze instantly, falling straight into Lin Kei's palm as it passed out. Little treasure. Lin Kei saw his pet fall and poked it with his fingers. Treasure hunter rat was stiff from top to bottom as if it were stuffed in a refrigerator for 3 days and 3 nights. Lin Kei could still feel its heartbeat, it was just as stiff as a board. To fumble the ball at the crucial moment, you're even more unreliable than my sand condor, thought Lin Kei as he carefully placed treasure hunter rat inside his gun holster. With treasure hunter rat out cold, Lin Kei was left on his own. Lin Kei held the tactical machine pistol in one hand, while he held the torchlight that Forbes brought in with the other. Although he was holding onto the torchlight, Lin Kei did not switch it on immediately. Switching it on too early would give himself away to any enemies inside, so it would have done no good. There was only one way down the stairs without any turnoff, so Lin Kei only needed to walk in one direction. Lin Kei stopped only at the turn of the stairs. He caught an unsettling scent, a little like a mixed scent of carrion, seawater, and excrement. Lin Kei took a deep breath and charged out with his tactical machine pistol. The handheld searchlight flashed on, and the intense light lit up the hidden room in an instant. Suddenly, an untamed savage being was awakened and stared at Lin Kei with its green pupils under the glaring light. Roar! A deafening roar echoed in the secret room. It seemed to have turned on a switch as the room came to life passionately. Screech, screech, screech! Woof, woof, woof! Oh, ooh, ooh, ooh! Roar! He, 2E1. There was something weird in the mix. Lin Kei was dumbfounded, and it took him a while to come back to his senses. He didn't understand why there was a small zoo in the Jack Gang's underground secret room. The king of all animals, lions and the rest, tigers, hound dogs, bald eagles, radioactive mutated wolves, and an alpaca. 2. These beasts were all locked up in cages. At the moment, they were all abruptly awoken by the glaring light. They rattled the cages, which contributed to even more noise. The whole room still had 1/3 of its space left, with thick, rolling metal gates on both ends. Lin Kei walked beside the railing and shone the light beneath. He then saw the glistening water surface. There was also a small table at the side of the metal cages. Lin Kei saw and picked up a notebook from the table. He then flipped through it. So that's why. The Jack Gang collects rent on the surface, but they were doing animal trafficking all along. Do not underestimate the animal trafficking business. As the saying goes, that which is rare is dear. Maybe back in peaceful times, most of these wildlife creatures were a common sight. One only required a little cash to see these creatures in the zoo. However, 80% of life on Wasteland's planet was affected by nuclear radiation after the Day of Reckoning. Countless animals died under the nuclear clouds, while those that survived mutated because of the radiation. To find the most primitive animal now would already be hard enough. Only the truly rich and powerful could afford these animals to showcase their wealth and influence. Of course, their hobby did not end there. Simply purchasing animals could not satisfy their vanity anymore. On this foundation, they started to enter an even wilder competition: animal fights. Of course, it was not referring to man versus beast. It referred to battles among the animals instead. The focus was not on the animal battles, it was on the hunger to win behind. I have the money to buy animals unaffected by radiation. I can also afford the most brutal and awesome animals of all. This was the message they wanted to send out. Though the Jack Gang did not directly partake in capturing the wild animals, any animals entering Sand City would pass through this point and be sold across the city. Upon seeing these, a bold idea popped into Lin Kei's head. Squeak, squeak. Just as Lin Kei was thinking, Treasure Hunter Rat woke up somehow and pulled Lin Kei's shirt as it warned anxiously. Beyond the dark alleyway, a large force was approaching. 2S. Chapter 37, All of you have finally returned. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Drats, Forbes is still outside. Lin Kei fished out his weapons and rushed out in one big stride. Forbes was still happily searching the corpses outside. The Jack Gang thugs didn't have much cash on them, but there were simply too many of them. When put together, it still accumulated to a fairly considerable amount. Forbes also found many interesting little trinkets on them, especially small squarish boxes. He had also found these things on the machinery holy cult fanatics previously. Lin Ke had even filled him in about their function. They were used to protect firearms at that time. These thugs sure are meticulous. Even though there aren't as many sandstorms in Sand City as there are in the Gobi, all of them still insist on outfitting their beloved guns with protective covers nevertheless. As expected of city dwellers. 1. Forbes then stuffed all these still sealed-in packaging gun covers into his backpack and mumbled softly, "Boss has quite a few guns. Nothing will go wrong with preparing a few more gun covers." Forbes had only just stored them all into his backpack when he suddenly heard a series of hasty footsteps coming from the dim alley outside. Although he was naive, Forbes wasn't a fool. He immediately realized that the people approaching them from outside didn't carry any good intentions. He slipped the backpack onto his back and ran toward the building to inform Lin Ke. Lin Ke coincidentally also ran out of the building at this point. The moment he spied Forbes, he immediately pulled him inside. "Boss, there are so many people outside." Lin Ke pushed Forbes into the building and instructed, "Hide inside. Without my permission, you're not to come out." After watching Forbes hide himself in the building, Lin Ke's heart was finally put at ease. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly to himself. Good thing that this fellow's quick-witted. Right after that, Lin Ke promptly chose to level up and adjust his condition to the most optimal state. Leveling up from LV7 to LV8 will consume 4500 EXP. Will you level up? Yes/no one. Yes. During his exchange of blows with John earlier, John's kick had depleted 1/3 of his HP. He might have to face another big battle now, so Lin Ke naturally needed to return to tip-top condition and not overlook any details. "Boss, it seems like quite a lot of people have come. Will we die?" "Be quiet. Sob boss, I don't want to die. I haven't even strolled around Sand City much. Since you're so scared, should I deploy some army ants to protect you?" "No, there's no need to do so at all. Boss, you can focus on your business. No need to bother yourself with me." Squeak, squeak. Treasure hunter rat stretched out its little fingers, 3 on one paw, while its other paw was balled into a little fist. Lin Ke's brows drew together slightly. 30 people? That's so many of them. The people outside had come straight for the base with strong and fierce momentum. Could it be the Jack Gang's archenemy, the Pacinos? First of all, the Pacino clan's turf wasn't far from the Jack Gang's. Only a block stood between the two. He had gone on a huge killing spree in the Jack Gang base just now. In particular, the last 2 shotgun blasts at the end of his fight with Jack had sounded fairly distinct. There was a high chance that the Pacinos had heard the commotion and also managed to get information on the Jack Gang's matters. Hence, they had brought their men over to make a killing during the chaos. Apart from the Pacinos, there were also other small forces in the vicinity such as the 7-man crowd, the Le Mans Club, and etc. All of them coveted the Jack Gang base's extraordinarily good location. No matter which force it is, I just hope that there won't be another elite. If we continue to fight on without any limit, we'll probably fight until daybreak. Sand Condor, can you still enter the field? Sand Condor, which was lying weakly on the table, curled up its wing and did a "by myself, I drink myself drunk" action. All right, 2 red wine and beef steak sessions. Upon hearing the reward of 2 upper-class meals, Sand Condor perked up at once and became full of energy. F***ck, we painstakingly charged all the way to the little inn only to come up empty. Why is the car showing up at the base's entrance now? A man in a gaudy, red suit and wearing shades reached out and stroked the bullet holes on the car hood. He then looked at the front windshield that had totally been shattered as the corners of his lips spasmed. Maybe that kid abandoned the car and fled. Someone then saw that the car belongs to us, the Jack gang, so they sent it back. Thanks to them having a strong and powerful boss protecting the turf, the Jack gang did hold some influence in the vicinity. Humph, that must be the case. It's just a pity that we let that kid get away. The man in the gaudy, red suit smashed his fist against the car hood, causing it to emit a dull thud while he himself grimaced in pain. Haha, old second, don't put on an act of bravado anymore. Do you think you're also born a natural at martial arts like boss? All you're suited for is practicing swordsmanship in bed. *CK, don't you think I want old Crane to take me as a disciple? Wouldn't I have a much higher status and identity than what I do now? It's just a shame that old Crane doesn't teach bedroom techniques, otherwise, I'd definitely outshine the rest with my aptitude. SHH. Stop with your nonsense. If old Crane hears this, even boss probably won't be able to save you. Don't worry, all the ones here are our men. There aren't any outsiders here, scoffed the man in the gaudy, red suit dismissively. Then, he stared at the four-eyed fatty and patted his thick, solid belly. It's you, old third, whose name is becoming more and more famous now. That kid, an outsider, even thought that Umr Kung were the Jack gang's boss when he called. The four-eyed fatty smiled naively and quickly waved him off as he said, "Don't tease me anymore. More likely than not, it's because I have the worst reputation, so he ended up thinking that I'm the boss. Alright, let's hurry back and report to boss." At the mention of this, old second the man in the gaudy, red suit couldn't he help but spit again. Gnashing his teeth, he said, "That kid had better not let me get a hold of him. Otherwise, I'll definitely skin him." The Jack gang had lost 17 men in 2 days straight. This was definitely a blow that had rocked their foundation. If other gangs knew about this, they would definitely seize the opportunity to make trouble for them. And all this was just because of a damn fatty. On top of that, the most hateful thing right now was that the fellow had immediately run after killing their men. He didn't even drive the car away. Trying to find someone in Sand City's slums was practically no different from trying to find a needle in a haystack. Both Old Second and Old Third unanimously felt that the Jack gang had no choice but to take the secret loss this time. Fortunately, Old Crane has taken boss as a disciple. When this piece of news is officially announced next month, the Jack gang's status will rise again, said the bespectacled Old Third as he pushed his black-framed spectacles. There was no way the news of the Jack gang losing a bunch of men could be kept under wraps. In that case, he'd have to intentionally spread the news of Old Crane has taken a new disciple these few days. This was to serve as a warning to the gangs eyeing them covetously. Let's hurry up and go in. Maybe the fellow that sent the car back saw the troublemaker, and hence, knows a thing or two about his whereabouts, suggested Old Third. Having come up empty and returned in low spirits following their failure, the two of them felt great displeasure. The sight of the returned car at the base entrance had comforted them slightly, and they placed hope in the person who had returned the car in being able to provide a bit of useful information to them. The Jack gang wasn't a major gang in Sand City, but they still felt great displeasure at being played by a fatty that had emerged out of nowhere. They had always been the ones making trouble for others. Since when did it become someone else's turn to make trouble for them? Was this something that they could take lying down? Especially during this crucial period when Old Crane was about to take their boss as a disciple, causing the Jack gang's status to rise along with it. It was highly likely that they would have even more business dealings and that they would take over even more turfs in the upcoming period of time. Weren't these events currently happening just purely an attempt to aggravate them then? Everyone walked into the alley. After they turned the corner, they could now see the base through the railings. *CK, another blackout? Don't that bunch of *T eating fellows know how to turn on the generator? The bad-tempered Old Second swore at once. Old Third frowned slightly, sizing up the building as he walked toward it. He couldn't help but have a foreboding feeling. This doesn't seem right. Why is it so quiet inside there? The atmosphere somehow feels very strange. Is there some kind of ploy going on? With a smile, the man in the gaudy, red suit replied, Old Third, you've read too many conspiracy theories. With boss in there, what can go wrong? Have they all gone to help because the smuggling ship is here? Old Third is certainly adept at coming up with plans and strategies, but he also has a really big fault. Every little thing is a conspiracy and the end of the world to him. He's really very timid. 3. Who knows? Boss's martial arts are certainly very strong, but it hasn't reached the point where he's unbeatable, right? The current situation is indeed very strange. Rather annoyed by what Old Third was saying, the man in the gaudy red suit asked as he walked on, Who's carrying a torchlight? Pass one over. After searching around for a while, someone finally found a torchlight and passed it to Old Second. Coincidentally, everyone had also walked over to the main entrance at this point. With the torchlight in his hand, Old Second cast a glance at Old Third and said, I'm going to take a look and see just what kind of conspiracy there is. Just as he was about to switch on the torchlight, a gust of sand suddenly swept toward them. A sandstorm howled and raged out of nowhere, trapping most of them within it. Pooh, pooh. What the hell is this? F***ck, why is there suddenly a sandstorm? It might be a huge sandstorm. Hurry, gather first. Grab one another's hands so that you don't get blown away. As the brains of the group, Old Third reacted the quickest and hastily shouted, resulting in him getting a mouthful of sand. In the face of the sudden sandstorm, everyone quickly gathered and huddled together, lest the raging winds blow them away. A dozen seconds or so later, the sandstorm weakened and gradually abated. The 30 men all huddled together slowly opened their eyes to see that they were still where they had been. Incredibly relieved, all of them felt as if they had just escaped the jaws of death. F***ck, that scared me to death. What's with the sandstorm in the middle of the night? Old Second was so terrified that his legs were shaking. Out of everyone present, he was the lightest, and he was practically a stick. If not for the fact that he had grabbed onto someone else tightly, he'd have been blown away. Old Third spat out the sand in his mouth and gave his black-framed spectacles a push, somewhat smug. This happened 20 years ago as well. At that time, the sandstorm had engulfed the greater half of Sand City and caused quite a number of casualties and deaths. If not for my quick reaction this time, we probably would have died. Fine, fine, fine. You're impressive, Old Third. I really take my hat off you this time. Old Second switched on the torchlight as he spoke and shone it into the open-air hall. At once, it became dead silent. Old Second quickly switched off the torchlight, his eyes had widened to their limit and beyond. His entire body was frozen stiff as if he'd just seen a ghost and been immobilized by it. Then, he turned his rusty neck around with much difficulty and asked, Did all of you see that? Old Third had also received a pretty serious shock. The visual impact from that scene just now was simply too great, and his legs were shaking intensely. Every single one of the thugs behind the pair was also sporting deathly pale faces. The visual impact from the scene which had entered their sights when the torchlight was switched on was simply too great. For a moment there, their brains couldn't quite process the visual data. A trembling Old Third reached out and pointed at the still-in-construction terrace at the side as he said, Just now, I seemed to have seen Boss's corpse over there. F***ck, shut the hell up. Old Second bellowed, his voice hoarse. He had also seen it, but he didn't dare to voice the truth. The boss was the Jack Gang's banner and pillar of support. If he died, one could say that the Jack Gang would be destroyed in a mere instant and split among the other forces covetously eyeing them in the vicinity. What made it even worse was that with the boss dead, the thugs would enter a state of disunity. Everyone's minds were completely blank now. They only had one thought in their minds now, just what had happened, in the Jack Gang, after they had left. Old Second was the boldest among them. He stepped forward and took a stride toward the hall. Right at this point, a voice rang out in the dark. "All of you have finally returned." The voice directly caused everyone's incredibly tensed-up emotions to snap and break. Whoosh! Practically at the same time, all the Jack gang members pulled out the pistols resting at their waists. At the same time, everyone's countenances drastically changed once more. On top of fear and alarm was still fear and alarm. 1. Chapter 38, Down This Bowl of Blood Wine. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Everyone was stunned to find out that their gun triggers had disappeared without a trace. "My trigger is gone. Mine is gone too. Me too." They glanced at one another in the moonlight and saw the same shock on each other's faces. Old Third was so frightened that he couldn't hold his gun properly. The gun bounced between his hands as if it was scorching hot for a while before it finally fell on the floor. Everyone's gun triggers had vanished mysteriously. Coupled with this creepy atmosphere and the voice coming out of the dark abruptly. Thinking back on the scene when the torchlight was switched on. There were bodies all over the floor. From the corpses' clothes, they could tell that they were all their colleagues and brothers. The thing was that none of the skin on their faces was intact. It looked as if their faces were splashed with highly corrosive chemicals. Without skin, the bloody flesh was exposed. In particular, the flesh at the nasal area and skin near the eyes were all nibbled away. Eyeballs popped out of the socket due to the lack of eyelids, they were only kept intact by the optic nerves as they hung around aimlessly. Jack was even worse, he could only be recognized by his clothes. His head was missing. Judging by the shape of the bones and muscle tissue at the neck, it seemed like a huge amount of force was applied to rip his head off. Furthermore, the mix of the river's fishy smell and the scent of blood capped off a sense of hellish horror to this spine-chilling experience. The shocking scene made everyone go silent and hold their breath. Having been surviving in Sand City, they were seasoned thugs who had seen blood and many bloody scenes of gang wars. Yet, the hellish scene in front of them was still a great shock. Their fear was like fire, and the scene was like firewood bolstering that flame. Click! With the click of a button, a bright light shone on the thugs from within the room. Everyone was dazzled by the light as they covered their faces with their hands. Immediately after, a figure appeared from behind the light source and stood before the handheld searchlight. Lin Kei's figure was clearly outlined by the lights, and his shadow completely consumed the thugs at the door. Lin Kei was like a demon overlord. And the 30-plus men standing by the door trembled in fear like bandits. No, they were already bandits. Lin Kei slowly walked with peace of mind. He thought that other gangs were coming to fish in troubled waters and prepared accordingly. Sand Condor was going to brew up a sandstorm while the Silver Army ants crawled onto the enemies and destroyed their arms. But in the end, it was just the Jack gang's people returning. Lin Kei had thought about this possibility, it was just that he didn't consider the rest of Jack gang as a threat at all. As Lin Kei walked closer, everyone could finally see Lin Kei clearly. The unknown was the greatest fear, and the skinny teenager in front of them couldn't be associated with fear in any way. Old Second and the rest calmed down a little, except for Old Third. Old Third raised his trembling hands and adjusted his signature black-framed glasses. He was even more frightened. F***ck, where did this kid come from? Stop playing around here. A thug was scared to death just now, and he couldn't help but vent his anger upon seeing Lin Kei's figure. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Kei shot the thug's head 3 times. A trickle of blood flew out of the back of the thug's head as he fell to the ground. Any more s? Please raise your hand. Lin Kei's face remained unfazed as if he had done nothing at all. Idiot! Scolded Old Third in his mind, and he couldn't help but think, can't this dumb *SS understand the situation? As the thug fell, everyone finally got the warning. Since their triggers had disappeared and the other party was armed, they were lambs waiting to be slaughtered. He's alone. How about we all charge together and take him down for sure? Yeah, we have like 30 men. Surely we can take him out. Some thugs standing at the back whispered. Veins throbbed on Old Third's forehead when he overheard the conversation. He became fed up and roared. Are all of you blind? Can't you see this guy is wearing boss's spiked boxing gloves? The returned car at the entrance, the strange sandstorm, and the gun triggers that vanished mysteriously, do you all still not understand? 1. This guy is the one we have been looking for, and he's here to wipe out the gang. That idiot Fatty was just a decoy, a tool. Old Third shouted with everything he had and slumped to the ground, falling on his bottom. Desperation plastered his face as he mumbled, "It's over, it's all over. The Jack gang is completely done for. We are all done for." Before Lin Ke opened his mouth, Forbes's voice was heard in the room. "No. You're the idiot, your whole family's an idiot." This just objection did not alleviate the thug's suspicion. On the contrary, it solidified Old Third's point. Their mood went to rock bottom once again. A one-man army wiped out the Jack gang. How terrifying was his power? Old Third's analysis was right on point, but due to his cowardly nature, he had completely given up as he sat on the floor. Old Second, who was in a red suit, took a few deep breaths. Sweat formed densely on his forehead, and the beads of sweat combined into a stream along his cheeks. They slid down his chin and dripped onto the floor. "Sir, what do you need so you can let us off? I remember you were selling things in the black market for money, yes? There's a safe in boss's office. Inside is all of Jack gang's revenue, which you can take if you want. We won't have any complaints. Are you sure that all the money is inside?" Old Second paused for a moment and reacted quickly, "What are y'all waiting for? Quickly, take out anything valuable on you to honor this good sir." All of them gathered and fished out whatever valuable things they had: cash, gold rings, and many other objects. Eventually, everything was placed into a shirt, which Old Second placed before Lin Ke cautiously. "The password to the safe is 2320933723. Would you like to go collect it on your own, or should we carry the safe out here to open it up for you?" Lin Ke looked at Old Second, who had a stiff face but was still smiling forcefully, and Old Third, who had practically given up on life on the floor. "I didn't expect this Jack gang to be so talented." The boss, Jack, was a level 10 plus elite with outstanding abilities, giving Lin Ke no less of a problem. Old Second was a natural in doing business. Just with his ability to squeeze out a smile and become obsequious in the face of danger, how could he not succeed doing business? Then there was Old Third, Mr. Kong. Lin Ke had only spoken a sentence, and Old Third analyzed it entirely. The key was that his analysis was on point too. Why didn't I realize Mr. Kong's strength when I ransacked the Jack gang in my previous life? Lin Ke's thoughts got sidetracked a little. Oh, I only focused on charging and probably didn't give Mr. Kong a chance to speak. My fault, my fault. Lin Ke stared at Old Second in the eye and opened his mouth again. Is this all? Old Second didn't hesitate this time as he nodded his head furiously. That's all. The Jack gang's business was collecting protection fees on the streets, so our revenue is all in cash over here. Hey, lips are sealed even at the moment of life and death? Lin Ke was truly, more and more awed by this man. Lin Ke sat on the stone table beside him and waved his hands. Old Second nodded and bowed with an obsequious smile. Lin Ke wrapped one arm around Old Second, while he stuck a gun on his chest with the other hand. Then, do you care to explain to me what's the matter with that animal encyclopedia and the wild animals locked up in cages underground? With that remark, sweat poured down Old Second's back. The thugs were stunned too. They knew that Second Brother was trying to send a god away by using all their surface revenue in cash to send off this killing machine. As long as they maintained their animal trafficking business, the money would always flow in. To their surprise, Lin Ke could speak about the animal encyclopedia and the metal cages in the underground room. It was obvious that he had been in the secret room. Old Second was dazed. Lin Ke pushed Old Second in front of him and kicked him away. The three prominent figures of the Jack gang. One had lost his head and definitely laid dead on the floor. The remaining two were now lying on the floor like homeless dogs. Actually, my trip here wasn't for the money. Everyone raised their heads and looked at Lin Ke. I just want your life. Gasp. Everyone's eyes were filled with despair. In a span of a sentence that went from heaven to hell, everyone's heart sank to the very bottom. Lin Ke observed them and was quite satisfied. People's psychological defenses would become easier to break down when their emotions fluctuated greatly. Lin Ke had crushed the gang's spirits through his confrontation with Old Second. Well, actually. Since Mr. has just arrived at Sand City, don't you feel that it would feel safer to have some influence here? Old Third couldn't help but voice his idea. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well step out and fight for a chance to survive. Lin Ke jumped down from the stone table and crossed his arms as if he had heard something interesting. Oh? What do you mean? Old Third crawled up from the floor and wiped his tears and nasal mucus with his arms. We can pledge our loyalty to you. Controlling a faction in a city with a complex situation would definitely be better than working alone by a million miles. Plus, you can become the boss and enjoy the exclusive animal trafficking business, where profits will roll in non-stop. Lin Ke did not say anything as he pretended to think about the suggestion. He was even more impressed by Mr. Kong now. This guy truly has some stuff. He said everything I wanted to say and saved me trouble. Lin Ke did not speak. He just sized up everyone with great interest. But Old Second, Old Third, and the 29 remaining thugs knew the meaning behind this silence. From today onwards, Lin Ke was the new boss of the Jack gang. Those who complied would thrive, and those who resisted would perish. Soon, a thug kneeled down with one leg and shouted, "Boss!" Right after that, more and more of them took a knee and pledged their allegiance. As long as they were not dead, what was the difference between serving someone else? Old Second and Old Third looked at each other in the eye on the floor. At least, they had survived. Boss! Both of them laid on the ground with lowered heads. Lin Ke looked at everyone on the floor and raised the corners of his mouth. Not enough. Go and prepare 31 bowls of blood wine and make your pledge of allegiance. That's how you pledge your loyalty. 2s. Chapter 39, Taking Over the Force. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Forbes, bring the bowls. Following Lin Ke's shout, Forbes hastily began to rummage about in the building. After a while, he walked out of the building with a stack of porcelain bowls in his arms and placed them on the table. Lin Ke brandished a sharp dagger from his gunsling and even accidentally showed the tactical machine pistol hanging on it as a kind reminder to everyone present: please treasure your life and stay far away from seeking death. Talk of pledging allegiance is cheap when there's no proof. It's only when you drink and swear an oath that you may show your sincerity. Lin Ke then turned and instructed Forbes, go in and look around some more. See if there's any wine in there. At this point, Old Second hurriedly interrupted and said, there's a bar counter behind the television in the lounge. There's wine on all the shelves there. Without needing Lin Ke to prompt them, the perceptive Old Second had already dragged Old Third with him and walked over at this point. He took the initiative to pick up the dagger and made a nick on his finger, dripping a drop of blood into the bowl. At the sight, the other thugs also imitated him and came forward, making a cut on themselves and dripping their blood into the bowls. Before long, Forbes carried quite a few bottles of wine out. Since all of you wish to pledge allegiance to me and are willing to swear a blood oath, then I, as boss, will personally pour all of you the wine. Lin Ke then chose a bottle of wine. Starting with Old Second and Old Third, he began to pour them wine. The wine and blood in the bowls fused into a bewitching red. The aroma of wine mixed with the pungency of blood. Together with all the dead bodies that littered the entire floor, it made the atmosphere even more bizarre. After pouring wine for everyone, Lin Ke opened another bottle and held it in his hand while he waited for them to swear an inviolable oath. Old Second downed the wine in the bowl in one gulp. Then, with his finger pointed toward the heavens, he vowed, "From now on, I, Sha, pledge allegiance to boss." The words were on the tip of his tongue, yet he stopped at this point because he still didn't know his new boss's name. Forbes hurriedly said, "Boss's name is Lin Ke. Remember that, everyone. From now on, I, Sha, pledge allegiance to boss Lin Ke and will be loyal and faithful. If I go against my word, I shall be punished by the heavens and die with my intestines punctured with holes and my gut rotting." Next came Old Third, who also downed it in one gulp. He choked and coughed a few times as he made the vow while stuttering. The other thugs also swore their oaths one by one or in groups and drank the blood wine. When everyone had finished their wine, a profound and meaningful smile graced Lin Ke's lips. He then poured himself a glass of cup and raised it high into the air. "Now that we've drunk the blood wine, all of us are brothers from now on. As long as I, Lin Ke, can get a mouthful of food, I'll never let the brothers go hungry." The glass of wine entered his stomach, and several messages then suddenly appeared in Lin Ke's system. "Jack Gang's third-place leader, Mr. Kong, has become your subordinate. Loyalty meter, 80. Jack Gang Thug A has become your subordinate. Loyalty meter, 65. Jack Gang Thug B has become your subordinate. Loyalty meter, 70. Quite a number of system messages had popped up on the interface. The messages this time were somewhat different from the ones he'd previously received when Forbes had acknowledged him as his master. When Lin Ke took a close look at them, he discovered that system messages would only appear for those whose loyalty meter was higher than 60. They numbered only a dozen or so in total. In other words, the rest of the people who didn't prompt any system messages had loyalty meters of lower than 60. The corners of Lin Ke's lips inconspicuously quirked upward a little. Well, that's interesting. What had surprised him even more was that Old Third, Mr. Kong, had actually assimilated himself into the situation so quickly and truly pledged allegiance to him. On the contrary, it was Old Second who had been busy attending to this, and that with a smile on his face that hadn't appeared on the list. Old Second, who was dressed in a gaudy, red suit, walked over to Lin Ke and rubbed his hands as he asked, "Boss, may I know how we shall deal with these corpses on the floor?" Lin Ke's gaze swept over them, and he replied, "We were each serving our own master previously. You can say that they had also stayed steadfast in their positions. In Jack's case, I respect him as a man. Bury all of them with honor." He then went along with Old Second's course of the conversation and added, "You can select a few brothers and get them to help with settling the matter." Old Second was still smiling as he said, "You're standing too much on ceremony, boss. Helping boss with his worries and difficulties is something I should be doing." After that, he brought some men with him and fetched some body bags. Practically every gang would prepare some of these things from the gang premises. Then, he called the cleaning company. "Hello, is this the cleaning company? We have 30 pieces of goods here that need to be settled. Come over as quickly as you can." The location is Sand City Slums 5th Avenue. Old Second then picked a few people, and they carried the corpses outside. "Here, take this. Use it to pay the cleaning company later," said Lin Ke as he grabbed some money from the shirt lying on the stone table. Old Second chuckled and scratched the back of his head as he said, "Boss, I'll tell you something, but don't get mad." Lin Ke indicated for Sha to go on. "Actually, I still have a bank card that has some money inside on me. I didn't take it out just now." As he spoke, Sha also became more and more timid. In the end, he hung his head and waited for Lin Ke's punishment. "In that case, you can pay for the cleaning fees as punishment." Overjoyed, Sha quickly said, "Thank you, boss." Sha then directed the subordinates and got them to carry the corpses outside. When he walked out of the Jack Gang's main entrance, the smile on his face suddenly froze, and his countenance turned cold and somber. Similarly, after sending Sha and the others out, Lin Kei's facial expression also returned to one of cold indifference. That guy named Sha sure has a lot of sly little thoughts, especially this move of self-confession in particular. Had it been someone else, they truly might have been deeply convinced by his act. Lin Kei, however, wanted to see just what sort of show this group of people would put up. As for the remaining men, Lin Kei got them to head to the underground chamber and shift the safes inside to the office. Half an hour ago, Forbes had been wondering whether or not he would die. But half an hour later, he currently had his hands on his hips and directed the thugs in their tasks. The thugs constantly addressed him as Big Brother Forbes, almost causing Forbes's nose to go all the way up into the air. The underground chamber stinks. Clean it after you shift the safes upstairs, especially the area under the cages with the wild animals. Clean up all the feces and urine. Forbes knew of Lin Kei's supernatural ability that allowed him to control animals, so he felt an extra sense of kinship at the sight of the animals. That was why he had instructed the thugs to take care of them properly. After all, they would be part of the same family in the future. But when his words reached the thugs' ears, they were so frightened that they were shaking in their boots. Big Brother Forbes, we can clean this side up for sure. However, all the animals in the cages over there are ferocious beasts. We're too scared to go over. Lions, tigers, radioactive mutated wolves, they were all ferocious beasts that ate one whole and all. Barely any of them dared to go near, much less clean up the area. In the past, they'd always used mechanical cranes to unload and directly shift the cages from the ships to the chamber. Hence, they hadn't needed anyone to go near at all. Now that they had to clean the area, they'd have to suspend the cages in the air again so that they could clean the floor. The moment they imagined themselves having to go near the ferocious beasts, every single thug was nearly scared to death. Those are important sources of income for the Jack Gang. By giving these wild animals a comfortable environment, they'll look radiant and be in good spirits. They'll then be able to fetch a good price when we sell them too, right? How can these animals get a good rest if we don't give two hoots about them and let them live together with their own feces and urine? If they're all listless and spiritless, surely there won't be any buyers willing to pay for them. Lin Kei sat at the bar counter in the lounge and poured himself a glass of champagne as he watched the busy thugs going back and forth. Taking over the Jack Gang hadn't been a whim. Ever since he'd come to Sand City, Lin Kei had had thoughts of building a force of his own. Be it A-level missions or when it was time for him to march into the universe in the future, having a force of his own would always provide more convenience. It was just that the artist's appearance and the wild animal smuggling supply chain in the Jack Gang's control had greatly sped up Lin Kei's plans. The reason why he'd chosen the Jack Gang was mainly that its wild animal smuggling supply chain was inexplicably congenial with Lin Kei's synthesis cheating device such that he no longer needed to be troubled over getting his hands on animals. Another reason was that both the Jack Gang's size and facilities were great. Lin Kei's occupation of the Jack Gang wouldn't cause great changes in Sand City's political situation, thereby allowing him some room to develop and space to catch his breath. Aside from that, Old Second, Sha, was social networking savvy, while Old Third Mr. Kong was skilled at developing plans and strategies. Both were able to assist Lin Kei in his initial developments. While Lin Kei's plans were certainly great, there were currently still too many unstable elements in his recent takeover of the Jack Gang. However, he wasn't too bothered about that. His highest priority right now was still to unlock the universal type as soon as possible and obtain the scholar class. Next to him, Sand Condor had buried its entire head into the glass and was immersed in the red wine, causing the wine in the glass to bubble continuously. Lin Kei reached out and flicked his fingers against the glass, producing crisp, tinkling sounds. Hey, a high-class condor never makes any sound when they drink wine. The moment he said that, the bubbles in the glass visibly lessened, even including the wine itself. In just a dozen seconds or so, the full glass of wine had gone from full to empty. Sand Condor had downed it all. Then, with glassy eyes, Sand Condor thought itself a chicken and started to walk about with its neck jutted out, bucking and cawing as it walked. A corner of Lin Kei's lips spasmed slightly as he watched Sand Condor's comical behavior. I forgot to say that a high-class condor also doesn't drink it all in one gulp. The thugs also held great interest in their new leader's sand condor. They couldn't be any clearer on how difficult it was to tame and train a sand condor. It was one of the hardest species of animals to tame in the desert. Getting a sand condor's acknowledgement was an extreme test of one's patience and will. The process was commonly known as tiring out an eagle. Lin Kei even had supremely strong combat power that allowed him to infiltrate the Jack gang alone and kill Jack, the previous leader, and another 30 thugs. On top of that, he also had some strange, inexplicable powers. All of these placed a mysterious veil over Lin Kei. The thugs that had pledged allegiance to him were both afraid of and idolized him. Ah! Just as Lin Kei was immersed in his thoughts, a screaming thug suddenly ran out of the underground chamber with a large damp patch on his trousers crotch area. Right on the heels of it, several people rushed up from below, laughing as they watched him. As it turned out, none of them had dared to clean the area. Hence, they had drawn lots in the end. Just as the man was cleaning the area, shaking all the while as he did so, the lion in the metal cage above him had suddenly roared, frightening the thug so badly that he dashed out of the underground chamber. The thug had even wet himself. "All right, stop fooling around. Everyone is to help out and clean up the area as soon as possible. After that, you can come to the lounge and take your share of the money." "Our share of the money? What money?" The thugs exchanged looks of confusion. "Your bonuses, of course. Long live the boss." Right away, the dozen or so people's spirits were all aroused. This was the carrot and the stick concept. Since Forbes had acted as the stick, then he would be in charge of giving the carrot. The loyalty meters of all the thugs currently present were 60 and above, hence making them targets of solidification and development. Elsewhere, Old Second, Shah, led a dozen people or so and waited at the roadside for the cleaning company that specialized in helping gangs dispose of and clean up dead bodies post-gang fights. A thug went nearer to Shah and asked, "Second brother, are we really pledging allegiance to him? Why don't we purchase some firearms, launch a counterattack on him, and avenge boss? Second brother, let's look for Old Crane and invite him to step forward." "That's right. Old Crane's White Crane Hall does have a lot of influence in the water transport industry, and White Crane Hall is also a big gang in the slums. If we can invite Old Crane to make his move, that Lin Kei guy will be doomed for sure. By then, everyone will look to second brother, and you'll become the Jack gang's new leader." "That's right." Shah turned around, and his gaze swept across everyone there. The dozen or so men that he'd selected to help with the transportation of dead bodies were all his loyal supporters. "Get to work properly and shut your goddamn traps." Shah berated them irritably as he discarded the cigarette butt in his hand. After a while, the cleaning company's body collection van arrived. They loaded all the body bags into the van, and then they rode the van to the cemetery. "Stop at the 9th Avenue. I need to attend to something. All of you are to head to the cemetery to help out." An unusual brilliance glittered in Shah's eyes. Now that boss is dead, and even that damn fatty old third cannot be relied on, he's likely already really pledged allegiance. I can only depend on myself for everything that comes next. 1. Chapter 40, Perfect Genes. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After opening all the safes, an inventory count showed that they totaled up to $600,000 in cash. Didn't Jack have the habit of using a bank card? Old Third pushed his spectacles as he replied, "No, he didn't. This is because we've always paid in cash upon the cargo ship's arrival for the wild animal smuggling business. Moreover, we had no idea what kind of goods would be delivered each time, so we had to prepare sufficient cash in advance." "Didn't you bother taking the initiative to contact the cargo ships?" Old Third shrugged helplessly and replied, "We wanted to, but the cargo ships are always different each time they arrive. Their phone numbers were also encrypted virtual numbers. We've spoken to them about this issue before, but their response was that they couldn't break the rules. Thus, we never brought it up ever again. Lin Ke nodded to express his understanding. Once a business took off, many rules would also follow suit and come into place. Behind the wild animal smuggling ring was definitely also a profit-based group. Next was the money distribution segment. As the first step to stabilizing the troops' morale, these thugs currently in front of him were akin to his basars in the Jack gang. Therefore, he needed to solidify and secure them. Lin Ke wasn't miserly with the money. With a grand wave of his arm, he began to distribute the money. I don't know whether or not Jack used to give you any bonuses in the past or how much he gave each time, but I, Lin Ke, will keep my word. As long as I can get a mouthful of food, there'll always be a share for the brothers. This time, we'll go for an auspicious number and give everyone $6,6661 each for now. He'd only just spoken when the thugs before him already broke into joyous cheers, shouting things like, "Long live the boss," and "How wise of the boss." They were in a fever of excitement and wished for nothing more than to sell themselves to Lin Ke immediately. Lin Ke believed that, even if he were to order them to jump into the river at this point, there would probably be people who would do so accordingly. In actuality, Lin Ke had already questioned Old Third about this in advance before he distributed the money. The Jack gang was a small gang. Despite having channels for smuggling wild animals, as part of the water transport industry, they were required to pay part of their profits to the White Crane Hall above them every half a year. Practically speaking, they couldn't have earned that much. Every member's monthly income was only about $2,000 to $3,000, let alone bonuses or whatnot. There was nothing of that sort. Lin Ke could only do this because he had killed quite a few of them previously. Had there been any more of them, he wouldn't have dared to employ such a method. "This is your bonus, Old Third. There's $20,000 here," said Lin Ke as he pushed 2 stacks of cash toward Old Third. "Boss, there's no reward without merit. How can I take this money when I've only just pledged my allegiance? I'm too embarrassed to do something like that." Lin Ke gazed at the overcautious and uncomfortable Old Third and said seriously, "I know that you've sincerely pledged your allegiance. That's why you can work even harder after that if you take this money." Lin Ke then got up and patted Old Third on the shoulder as he said, "To be honest, you're aware that there's no difference as to who the one taking over the leadership position in the Jack gang is. The ones above only look at whether or not you can put your heart into your work. They've never cared about who the one sitting in the position is." He lightly tapped on the 2 stacks of money on the table and said, "This money is not for the Mr. Kong that pledged allegiance to the Jack gang. It's for the Mr. Kong that pledged allegiance to Lin Ke." Old Third's eyes lit up at his words. He got up, accepted the money, and said, "All right, I'll thank boss for this then. I'll get someone to fix the electrical circuits and clean up boss's bedroom now. Boss might have to make do a little for tonight. I'll get someone to completely redo the place first thing tomorrow. No need to make it too complicated. You can just go simple on everything." After that, Old Third directed someone to go and clean up the suite. Talking to clever people was simply so easy. Just a slight hint was already enough for the other party to understand the underlying meaning behind his words. After giving away the money, Lin Ke discovered that the men's loyalty meters had increased by a large amount. They ranged from as few as 5 points to as many as 10 points. After all, receiving a bonus worth 2 to 3 months of income at one go was an experience that they'd never had before. When they were done cleaning up, Lin Ke tossed another few stacks of cash to Old Third and said, "When Old Second and the other brothers return, remember to distribute the money to them as well. I'll rest for now." Old Third received the money from him. After some hesitation, he said, "Boss, there's something that I'd like to tell you." Lin Ke, who could see the struggle on Old Third's visage, patted him on the shoulder and said, "We can talk about it tomorrow. Let the brothers have an early night tonight." Old Third swallowed the words at the tip of his tongue, nodded, and went out. After Old Third left, the army ants climbed back up onto the door and completely covered the door. Treasure hunter rat also scurried out from underneath the flax clothing and bounced about in the suite. This particular suite used to be Jack's lounge in the past. Some wooden training dummies and punching bags still remained in the room. From these, one could tell that Jack had been a man obsessed with martial arts training. Lin Ke didn't get the men to remove them since he could also use them for training and increase his martial arts proficiency whenever he had some spare time. He had an extra large space of 80 square meters to himself. The suite was arranged in a layout of 2 rooms and 1 hall. The suite was equipped with all the daily necessities that one could need. It even had a private open-air balcony measuring 30 square meters by the river. One absolutely mustn't find the place cramped. In a place like Sand City where every inch of soil was as expensive as gold, being able to own a gang that occupied a space of several hundred square meters and a suite bigger than 50 square meters to oneself already made one a successful man. The towering buildings in the vicinity might look big and tall, but in reality, there wasn't much of a difference between the building interiors and slums shacks. A single unit housed more than a dozen people, leading people to jokingly refer to the living conditions as pigeonholes and coffins. Forbes took the smaller bedroom at the side while Lin Ke took the bigger one. Lin Ke laid on the bed and stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep for the longest time. Too many things had happened that night. From being pursued by the Jack Gang and raiding the Jack Gang to meeting John the King of Assassins, the speed at which things had developed was as if someone had pressed the fast-forward button. Although Lin Ke had taken over the Jack Gang, the other small gangs in the vicinity were stirring and bubbling under the surface. On top of that, there were still unstable elements in the gang. Should he rob them directly, the amount of money he could gain would definitely be enough for him to strengthen himself a full round. But if he decided on long-term development instead, this bit of money from the Jack Gang was honestly insufficient, considering that he had to pay part of the profits to another organization above him and also maintain their own operations on top of that. At the same time, the Eye of Providence gold coin that John had tossed him was tantamount to having pushed him into the open. It was hard to say when assassins or bounty hunters might just attack him for the Eye of Providence gold coin at any time. Therefore, his most important priority at the moment was to make a trip to Platinum Hotel as soon as possible and spend the Eye of Providence gold coin. Lin Ke did a mental tally. He had 2 things he needed to do tomorrow. The first was to speed up the unlocking process of the universal type, get his hands on the scholar class, and pick up skills as soon as possible. The second was to head to Platinum Hotel and spend the Eye of Providence gold coin. As for developing the gang, that was a long-term plan. At the very least, he could still afford to wait to make the decision after he cleaned out the unstable elements in the internal structure and got a clear understanding of the Jack Gang's network and connections. Since he would be unlocking the universal type once he woke up tomorrow, Lin Ke decided right away to level up to level 10. Leveling up from LV8 to LV9 will consume 5400 EXP. Will you level up? Yes/no. Yes. Leveling up from LV9 to LV10 will consume 6500 EXP. Will you level up? Yes/no. Yes. After leveling up, Lin Ke was left with 7085 EXP and 18 latent capacity points. Lin Ke had a very good sleep that night. All the fatigue and tension which had accumulated over several days dissipated into nothingness under the mild, gentle sunlight that spilled into the room at dawn. After washing up, Lin Ke walked out of his room to see that Forbes was already awake and was currently cleaning the suite. "Let's go, Forbes. Follow me out to get some stuff done." Lin Ke dressed himself and got ready to depart. He then took another few tens of thousands of cash from the safe. After exiting the suite, Lin Ke took a walk around the base and only spotted Old Third and some of the thugs. "Where's Shaw?" He brought some of the men out early in the morning, saying that he was off to get the guns repaired. "Boss, there's something that I don't know whether or not I should say." Mr. Kong looked troubled. He had some things that he'd already wanted to bring up the previous night, but Lin Ke had stopped him. "I'm heading out to attend to something for now. We'll talk again when I'm back in the afternoon. You can temporarily manage all the gang matters during my absence. Then, Lin Ke brought Forbes with him and left, leaving a dazed and disordered Old Third behind. Old Third had a troubled look on his face as he watched Lin Ke, who had left so valiantly, from the back. The new boss is strong and pretty nice, but why is he so insensitive to matters? We're doomed, we're doomed. We're really doomed this time. 3. The joint pharmaceutical organization building in the uptown area was the destination of Lin Ke's trip this time. To unlock the universal type, Lin Ke needed to reach 10 points for all his attributes first. Considering Lin Ke's current body's aptitude and standard, it was impossible for him to achieve that without any external aid. Sit here and wait for me, Forbes. I'll be out in about half an hour. Forbes sat on the couch in the main hall, somewhat uneasy. This particular building was extremely modernized, and the digital screens were playing all sorts of promotional videos that he didn't understand. The main hall on the ground floor was brightly lit and spacious, while the lobby was paved with pale marble tiles. When one looked over, they would also see pure white statues, various glass products, and display counters. The size of the whole lobby was even bigger than the entire Jack Gang base put together. Forbes sat there stiffly and uncomfortably. Toward the end, he didn't even dare to look about anymore. Everything here was too exquisite, giving him a restrictive feeling. He felt like even the slightest bit of carelessness would destroy the atmosphere. Lin Ke walked over to the front desk. As if he had already done this countless times, he said, "Give me a tube of gene restoration concentrate. That'll be $200,000. May I know if you'll be paying by card or cash?" In no time, he finished the payment with both card and cash. "Mr. Lin, this way, please." Lin Ke followed the sweet-looking, long-legged staff member to a room that had been prepared for him. After shutting the doors, Lin Ke began to undress. He placed the gunsling, his weapons, and the army ants all at the side. Fully unclothed, he placed the gene restoration concentrate into the electronic robotic arm device and laid down in the miniature swimming pool full of an orange-colored nutrient solution. A brief moment later, the robotic arm was activated. After doing a scan of Lin Ke's body, it inserted the needle into his arm and injected all of the silver gene restoration concentrate into him. Gene restoration concentrate injection successful. Body reparation and restoration to full condition will now commence. Power, agility, endurance, intelligence, energy, charm, luck. Gene restoration complete. Please check your new attributes. Following the system's notifications, Lin Ke eagerly checked out his attributes. Name, Lin Ke. Race, human. Level, LV10. EXP, 7085. Class, N/A. Status, refugee, Mandala spokesperson, assassin, Jack Gang leader. Health points, 150/150. Energy points, 70/70ths. Stats, power, 7, agility, 7, endurance, 15, intelligence, 7, energy, 7, charm, 7, luck, 7, 2. Latent capacity points, 18. Talent, N/A. Skills, N/A. Equipment, sharp dagger, white, Glock 17 pistol, white, Bezos T1 tactical machine pistol, white, pump action shotgun, white. Special abilities, basic driving, 67%. Basic marksmanship LV1, firearms hit rate plus 5%, reloading speed plus 10%, firing speed, plus 5%. Basic fist fighting LV1, melee attack plus 1%, attacking speed plus 1%, melee hit rate, plus 1%. Appraisal, hehe, someone has shot his own beloved car. Aside from his endurance, all his other 6 attributes had risen to 7 points. Lin Kei's 18 latent capacity points just happened to be enough to raise all his attributes to 10 points each. The Gene Restoration Concentrate, as the name indicated, was a potion that could repair and restore one's genetic flaws. In the game, it was effective only on players that were level 10 and below and NPCs. Due to its exorbitant price, it daunted many. In his past life, by the time the Gene Restoration Concentrate had become widely known among players, most players had already reached level 15. Only an extremely small handful of people had chosen to delete their account, start over, and spend the effort to save up $200,000 to try out the Restoration Concentrate. The purpose of the Restoration Concentrate was to repair one's genetic flaws, and the conditions that one needed to meet in order to use it were also extremely demanding. Not only did it target players level 10 and below, but once any attribute exceeded 10 points, it would no longer enjoy the Restoration Concentrate's benefits. This was also the reason why 6 of Lin Kei's attributes had been raised, yet his endurance was the only one that hadn't shown any improvement. It was previously mentioned that the first 4 of a normal player's initial attributes basically started out at 5 points, while the latter 3 were randomized. In other words, the Restoration Concentrate was able to raise a single attribute by a maximum of 4 points, thereby making the theoretical total increase a maximum of 28 points, which was roughly about the number of unassigned attribute points that one would gain upon leveling up to level 10. But since it was a randomized increase, it was rather dependent on luck. Adding the fact that every player account could only use it once, its demanding conditions had obstructed a fair number of players. After all, everyone had already elevated their levels by then. Although one could gain attribute enhancements by deleting their account and starting over, they would also end up missing a lot of high-level missions. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, only an extremely small number of wealthy players had chosen to delete their accounts and start over. This subsequently allowed them to discover the hidden fifth system, the universal type.